back to the Broken Ranks podcast. We're here to give you guys some background noise for your painting sessions today. Rich is fixing his light, and outside of that, we're ready to go. My door may open behind me. My dog likes to come in and out, so we left the door open today. But other than that, we're back in the sack, ready to go. Sorry for the inconvenient miss and skip of last week, but we're gonna cover some of our favorite factions that have come out so far, and then we're gonna circle back the following week and kind of cap everything off. So that's the plan here. We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I'm excited to see what the boys have brought, because as I was just telling them, I have been living literally under a rock for the past week. And I basically haven't looked at any of this except the OBR one, obviously. So I'm excited to learn and discover and see what's going on in the news that I missed. But yeah, I mean, before we dive into it, what have you guys been up to?
So I didn't do any hobbying, but I did get more
Classic.
models. So you know,
Okay.
that's just how it works.
Okay. What'd you get?
I got they're actually right here in this bin. I'm not going to take them out because it's a pain in the ass. And but what it is it's 10 Blight Kings.
Okay.
What's the
Nice.
what's the blowgun guys?
Oh, did you
Rotmire
buy?
Creed.
Did you buy the?
I bought Matt's stuff. Yeah, I bought Matt's stuff.
Nice.
So Rotmire Creed, 10 Blight Kings, Lord of Blights, Harbinger of Decay, and then the Glotkin.
The new Harbinger of Decay?
Yeah, the new Harbinger of Decay.
I don't even have that. Nice.
Let's go.
I like that you now own a Nurgle model that I don't own. What is this?
I don't know. It's random. My inability to prevent myself from buying models is what it is. But Matt was trying to sell his models, and he needed the cash. So I was like, yeah. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but we were all together at the time when that first happened, because we were playing our Age of Apocalypse game.
True.
Which we have. So we all played a game since the last time we've talked.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did.
Except for Jake, who is
that Matt. Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the younger guy. He was playing Night Haunt, I believe. Yeah.
When I tell you what I've been up to, I played a game against him, but I'll let Rich finish.
Really?
I mean, I was pretty much done. I was just saying that Jake was the one who ran the game.
I brokered that deal too. He was like, "Oh man, you know anyone who might want to buy my Nurgle?" I'm like, "Do I know a guy? I do know a guy.
I know a guy.
I do. He's right there."
I'm the guy.
I feel like I deserve some commission from this sale, but
that's between you and the buyer, or you and the seller.
You and the seller.
That's between you and the seller.
The seller.
So don't come to me. I'm
gonna hunt him down for like 5% or something.
There goes that cat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you got that. I know he was excited that I pointed to you and said that you might want to buy it. He was like, "Oh, yeah. Really? That's awesome." So, good for him and good for you. What about you, Carlos? Give it to me.
So, I haven't been doing a lot of hobbying, but I did do the last 3rd edition RTT at Dice Dojo.
Yeah.
This past weekend, which was really cool, run by Kamran. Shout out to Kamran.
Big shout out.
The TO was I think his name's Chris. I'm really bad with names sometimes. I think his name was Chris. I'm not sure, but he ran a real tight ship, and it was really fun. I took my wife's Beast of Chaos army.
Let's
for
go.
funsies. So I took 2 Gorgons, a Cygor, 9 Bulgor, and just whatever else made sense in the list. First game was against Ogre Maw Tribe with Kragnos, with Boulderhead. It was a lot of fun. So Kamran used the War Coda. I'd never even known about what the War Coda was. But it's like, it's basically like 3.5. It's like the prequel to 4th edition. It's got all the 4th edition battle tactics and like custom grand strats that you had to choose a new one every single turn.
Community like developed battle pack or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. So I went into it blind. Just absolutely blind. And so I was like, well, I'm there to vibe. Let me pick Beast of Chaos, and just send them off because I don't think my wife's gonna end up touching them,
Ever
even though
again?
they're gonna be available for a year to use.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'll give him a last ride. So I won against Boulderhead. That was a really good game. Second game was against Matt, who plays Cruel Boys,
Oh, they went.
and
That crew went up there, of
yeah,
the
yeah,
kids.
Wait,
yeah,
yeah, the first game was against Zach, so the second game was against Matt, right?
yep, yep,
Oh,
exactly.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it checks out.
yeah. And
So Carlos just went there and ruined their hopes and dreams. Is what we're hearing.
Carlos
did.
just goes and stomps the kids. Come on, man.
Yeah.
well, funny enough, if I had brought my vulture list, I don't think I could have beaten Matt. Because he was grit and blades, and the vultures need line of sight.
Oh, he took his
So-
crew boys.
Yeah. So like I would have just gotten in his face and he would be like, cool, now I'm gonna shoot you off the table, boy. But instead, I just kept charging him in the combat phase with bullgores, so he just couldn't
Nice.
unleash hell. So he's like, "What am I supposed to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, cry about it."
You're so toxic.
Charging in the combat phase is toxic as fuck.
It really
I was
is.
like, so that's gonna be
You're
gone.
like, I don't know, man.
So yeah, so that was really cool. And then last game against Kevin, which man, second time I had to fight Kevin at the top table. Like, what a game. I went in there completely thinking he was gonna like stop my face. I was like, man, this is his army. I have no idea what I'm doing. But it just came down to like it came down to grand strat, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Because again, you can't choose the same grand strat, and so you kind of have to like pick a new one each game. And the one he had left, he wasn't able to complete, and the one I had left, I was just barely able to get. And so
Oh, man.
I literally only beat him by like 1 point. If he had one turn 5 prio, he probably could have done something and inched out a victory. But yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. I'm sad I couldn't go to that. That looked like a ton of fun, but
Oh, also, I found out today that High Ground Brewski finally got posted on ITC.
oh, really?
Yeah, so it is finally up there.
Well, that's
It's
good.
Only 2
Yeah.
months late.
Yeah, 2 months late, but hey, it's up there now.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
No.
we love it. I'll have to.
Yeah.
We'll have to check out the rankings. I'm curious where everyone falls after that. I'm
y-
sure
yeah,
you're
for sure.
up there pretty high with the ogres at least, right?
I don't think Carlos has lost a competitive game in like 4 months.
I can't remember you doing any.
No, because I went 4-1 at Adepticon. So
But that was when was Adepticon?
March.
Okay,
Yeah, so
so
it's 3
so
months
just
ago.
almost 4
Almost.
months.
I've lost
Almost.
one. I've lost one game this year.
My
competitive-
apologies.
I've lost one. Well, I'm going to be honest. I lost one competitive game this year.
You sound like me last year, honestly. Dude, let's
No,
go.
yeah.
That's
Carlos,
that's
the
gonna
Frost
do it.
Lord of Illinois. You know.
We
Yeah,
love it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been really cool getting to close out third edition on such a high with Soul Blight, with Ogre Maw Tribe, and now with Beast of Chaos. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
pretty cool.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, for me, I actually did more hobbying than anything. I haven't played a game in like an actual game since Brewski. Literally, I don't think I've played any games.
Right, because Dojo was
Yeah.
right on my birthday, so that was
Which
before,
was before,
yeah.
yeah. So the
Yeah.
last time
Yeah,
I
so
played was
Brewski.
at Brewski. So I've been like really taking a hiatus. I've been hobbying a ton over the past couple months though, and I've got
What are you painting right now?
a couple of things right now. I've painted probably over 150 dwarfs, like little fantasy
because
dwarfs.
Old World. That's
For
right.
Old World,
Yeah.
Old World, so they're not in here. I have them in the other room, but I have like a gigantic tray, like this big, just of 25 mil square dwarfs, just lined up, painted, like millions. They're endless. So I've been doing that, and then I also I've been working on this, which I haven't really shown anyone because I don't really want my brother to see it. It's a present for his birthday, which is in August, but it's like a little display piece here. I don't know if you guys could see that.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that
Are
so
those
that's
Tyranids?
Yeah, so
that's-
so there's Tyranids here, and then I've got an Eldar Warlock and in the last year's like model of the thing, like the
Yeah.
championship model or whatever for Space Marines. So like me and my brother growing up, we played a lot of Dawn of War, the RTS game. Like we played a ton of it versus each other. Like we just do,
Oh, hell yeah.
that thing. So
Oh,
This is
nice,
what,
nice.
yeah.
he
I know
would,
because I was like, I've got it over here.
yeah, he would always play Yellow Space Marines, and I would always play Eldar in that game, and we'd like 1v1 each other like all day. So I figured now that I'm kind of in the hobby and I'm like decent at painting and kind of wanted to do something different, I figured I would make him a little birthday present of, you know, a little Eldar guy and a little Space Marine fighting off some nids. So I'm working on that.
Shoot, that's so nice.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
I've always wanted to do something like that. That's so cool.
Me too. And I was thinking of doing like a bone shaper, like with a pile of bones, like doing like this with his hand, and then having a bunch of that'll probably be my next project. I want to do a bone shaper with a bunch of like half Mortec guard, like cut in half, like coming out of a pile of bones with a bone shaper in the, or like the what's the,
That sounds really cool.
what's
The
the
ossifactor?
ossifactor who's like standing
Yeah.
like this in the middle of all of them, like having them rise up around him. So that might be my next project, but
Honestly, if you do the ossifactor, what you should do is right behind the ossifactor is like the head and like arm of a harvester.
yeah,
Since what he's doing is making like a harvester face when he's
Yeah.
with the thing above his head.
yeah,
Then you know, it looks like he's summoning the
summoning
the
that
harvester
thing
to take
behind
the
and a
mask.
bunch of
yeah,
it would be really sick.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
sick.
so I'm probably gonna do that. I'm having a lot of fun with this, but I've sort of hit a roadblock, and I need to figure out what I want to put behind this to kind of like, you can't really see, it's kind of reflecting here, but I want to put like a
it's like a little
sunrise or
backdrop.
something, like a backdrop behind it, and get it on like a nice piece of like thick card paper or something to make it look good.
Sure.
But yeah, I've been working on that, and then I have my Holy Wars model that I'm kit bashing for my first kit bash ever. So that's gonna
Ooh.
be, it's gonna be
Nice.
my leader for me and Justin's army, my like custom model or whatever. So it's gonna be
Hell yeah.
a cool Morghast.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I've just been doing that and just trying to zone out, play some RuneScape, you know, turn off the noise, and you know, work's been rough, stuff's been rough. So, but I'm excited to get back to playing. And then we did the Apocalypse event too, which was wild. We could probably have
Insane.
a whole episode on that, to be honest, and just
That's
talk
one
through
word for
the-
it.
Yeah, talk through the learning process that was. It was fun, but it was also an absolute mess. So
The things that I learned from that is don't let friends charge friends.
yes, just
No. Yeah, exactly.
Don't let friends charge friends, and don't summon any what's the thing? The
Crossbinds?
Crossbinds, yeah. even if you let them die at the end of the turn, don't do it.
hey.
Listen, my dragons.
We were
my
in,
dragons.
we were in Gur, brother. We had to have some Crownspines show up there. Like they're defending their land.
You killed my dragons
Hey,
on
so-
turn one. Well,
You killed your own dragons. I wasn't even playing.
So I'll give you guys a little peek behind the curtain, right? Because me and Pat want to play on the next one, so that
make it
Jake can
happen.
play.
I would love that.
And one of the things that we loved your Kronspine idea, but what I want to do instead is sort of play into the Scaventide theme. And so we're going to have, instead of Kronspine, and instead of it being random, every turn a Null is going to pop out, and then a bunch of Skaven are going to pop out of it. And so the idea behind this is that like the Skaven, like yeah, exactly, the Scaventide is going to be coming up every single round.
That would
It's
be
gonna
awesome.
Really cool.
That would be awesome. Make it, yeah, that'd be really fun. There's so many, like, honestly, doing that, it was an absolute clusterfuck, right? It was, at times, for me at least, not fun. But
It's never fun being in charge, man.
I have fun with like GTs and like the tournament stuff and all. Like I love doing that stuff, but that was just so like it was a lot, and there was also a lot of people all playing each other at the same time. It was very difficult to like get people to shut up and just like be organized for a second. But outside of that, like the whole process of it and just watching it play out, the whole time I'm sitting there like, oh man, if we had done this instead, or if we did this slightly different, or this would be a cool idea for the next one. And like I had like a ton of people playing were like coming to me like, oh, it would be really cool if we did something like this. So it was really like, a fun experience to just like hear the ideas from everyone, even if some of the feedback was negative. But outside of the negative feedback, it was, there was a lot of fun, like cool ideas, and Pat and you and other people were just kind of planning like how it could be different. So in a good way, like let's make a better one next time and have a even better time than we did. So
exactly. And I think at the end of the day, it was really cool to just like hang out with everybody all day.
That's that's all I wanted. I wanted everyone to just come and just push models around. And unfortunately, you can't have beer in Grognard's, but have some beers, and
that would have been great.
That would have been amazing.
So real quick, just in case anyone's watching this who wasn't there or doesn't know about it, what Apocalypse was it was 16 players.
Yeah.
Four teams of 4, each player bringing 1,500 points, and the 4 teams were the grand factions. So you had Order, Death, Chaos, and Destruction. And we were playing on 4 tables pushed together with 5 objectives, 1 between each 2 set of tables, and then 1 dead in the center. There was a lot of interesting rules with terrain breaking and causing damage, Kron spines being summoned by terrain breaking.
Realm gates too in the back corners of every table.
Yeah, realm gates in the back corners of every table. We had we were planning on going 6 rounds, but we ended up cutting it down to 5 just because 6 rounds would have taken us to like 11:30 probably.
Yeah.
And we started at 10:30. I wasn't there. I actually showed up at 12:30 because of work. But
yeah, we started around 10, and I think we got out, honestly. I think I got home at like 10. So it was maybe even like it was like a 12-hour game. It was wild, but
something like that. Yeah.
We did have an hour break for lunch.
Yeah, true.
We went to Uncle Bill's, but
classic.
That's still it's still 12 hours that we were away from home in most cases.
Yeah, so some way to streamline it a little bit would be good, and then also just a little bit more cohesion with the rules. And it's tough when there's so many armies that do so many things, and you're fighting against so many other people, and there's also 100%. The table which has different rules, so it's very complex to balance. You have to kind of go in with the mindset of like, all right, this is going to be like Holy Wars, which is a Midwest thing where it's like shit's going to happen, and it's not going to go my way. But it was fun.
The points don't matter anyway. You know, who is winning anyway. Honestly, if you had asked us, because Carlos and I were playing on Order and we ended up winning, if you had asked me at the midpoint of round 5 and at the end of round 5, I would have said that we were losing heavily.
Yeah, I thought Destruction won.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, I did too.
No idea. Like,
I thought Destruction won. The only reason we like Order ended up winning was because honestly, the only reason Order won was because Death betrayed us, and so we got hyper aggressive and angry.
Yeah,
and so they're just popping off on turn 5.
I mean, we had a Kron Spine kill, the Herald kill, which were both worth points, and we held the center.
We took the center back.
Yeah. That was the other thing, is that two of the grand factions were in a tentative alliance. So Destruction and Chaos and Order and Death were both in a tentative alliance, so they were helping each other out. But Death took a grand strat that was to betray us and kill 2 of our Order units in a single turn that were full. I think they had to be full Order units. And they almost succeeded if they hadn't tried to swing into 15 Thunderers.
Yeah. It was wild. I made everybody send me a a narrative focused grand strategy that they could potentially accomplish, and everybody sent me grand strats and I approved them, and that was Death's, was to betray the Order alliance they had and take the souls for themselves. And I was like, that's right up my alley. We love that. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of what I've been up to, and I guess what you guys been up to too. Let's dive into this. We can kind of jump right in. I don't know where Rich just went. I'm sure
he went to go do something, but he always has his headset on, so he's listening.
I just looked away and then looked back, and he was gone.
I'm here.
He said he's here.
Okay.
I was getting a tea and putting on my shirt. I don't know. Guys,
I can't do this to me. My heart
I know he keeps the headset on, so when he walks away.
Sure. All right, so let's jump into this. We're gonna start off strong with today's reveal.
Which
is Seraphon.
The Seraphon.
The Warriors of the Lost Gods. Beautiful.
Yeah, Carlos and I gotta have a discussion because I think Carlos is underrating a Seraphon here. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
Sure. All right. All right. Do you have their battle traits up?
Yep, we're right on the battle traits now.
Sweet. So the battle traits. The first one. Well, so the battle trait is called the Great Plan. And the way the Great Plan works is you declare an asterism, which is essentially like your passive for the whole game. The passives are as follows, because I'm going to do it in this order. So you pick a passive. The first passive is called Eatzel the Tamer. All your companion weapons by friendly Seraphon units have crit 2 hits. So that's basically your Thunder Lizards now. If you're going to run Monster Mash, all your monsters are going to have crit 2 hits, which is fucking cool. Really cool. You know, especially because they showed the Stegodon, which we'll get to. And Stegodon with crit 2 hits, crit 2 hits is sexy. So that's really good. Quetzal the Preserver is subtract 1 from rend characteristics of melee weapons that target friendly Seraphon units if they are wholly within friendly territory. So if your Seraphon unit is wholly within your own territory, someone tries to come at you, you know, -1 rend, that's really strong. I like that. It's probably my favorite one.
I like that a lot.
I think it's probably going to be the one I pick most often if I'm not running Monster Mash, to be honest.
That's
which
weird.
Will.
That's weird because honestly, it's probably my least favorite one.
Ooh, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Sotek the Deliverer. Add 2 to the movement characteristic of friendly Seraphon units. Solid. It's the new
free movement.
And what I got salty about when I saw this, and I was like, "Cool, that used to be an ogre, the ogre passive." Cool,
I just stole it from ogres. How dare they?
that was the ogre passive. I'm not mad about it. Okay. And then Tepak the Seer is add 1 to casting rolls for friendly Seraphon units. Real strong. So really good if you're going to be going magic heavy. I could see that being a go-to for the quote unquote Starborn type lists. And then now for the bonuses. So at the start of the 3rd battle round, if you can declare that you've met the condition for one of the ones that you picked, and if you've met the condition, you get to pick a new passive that happens in addition to the current one. So it doesn't replace it; it's in addition to, if you've met the condition. So you could. So what I will say is I am unsure, and Rich probably can. You two can probably clarify this. It says once per battle, start of the 3rd battle round. So does that mean that if you didn't do it, you don't get it?
Correct.
So you can't try to be like, oh, it's the start of the 4th battle round. Do I complete it?
I would imagine right? No. Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta. Yeah. So that's gonna be really interesting.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't read that until just this minute. So now I kind of see where you're coming from about. I thought it was something that you could pick. I didn't realize it was something you had to do.
Just at any time or something. So
not at any time. I knew it was after the 3rd battle round, but I thought it was something that you could do at the start of any hero phase.
Yeah.
Or at the start of any battle round after the 3rd battle round.
So the way that this works is you pick one at the beginning of the game. So I could say like Eatzel the Tamer. That's my thing for the game. So I have that for the entire game.
Yes, no matter what.
And then in the top of the 3rd battle round, I basically am also, in addition to picking one of these passives at the beginning of the game, selecting one of these like plans. So I could say Sotek the Deliverer, the enemy general, is... Oh, wait. Okay. I totally misunderstood. So one of these has to happen, and whichever one does happen, you can then select the passive that it aligns with.
Okay,
and
so
if you have more than one, you get to choose.
So here's the way I interpreted this, right? Sure. And maybe I'm interpreting this wrong. If you picked Eatzel the Tamer... you can pick a new asterism if you've destroyed 3 or more enemy units. Or that's how I'm interpreting this.
You can use this ability if you meet the conditions below that correspond to the asterism you picked in the deployment phase.
Right. It's saying the ones you picked in the deployment phase. So if you picked Itzel the Tamer, it says, okay, you picked Itzel the Tamer. Did you destroy 3 or more units? Cool. If the answer is yes, pick a whole new thing.
That's how it works for sure.
So
that is
yes.
how it works for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to do one of these things. And don't get me wrong. I think I still think these are really cool, and you get to kind of tailor it to your play style, a little bit,
So you're basically picking Itzel the Tamer because that's probably the most doable one, right?
I don't think Quetzal the Preserver is too bad. The reason it's my favorite is because it's like, okay, if you're going up against an Alpha Strike army, you're basically giving yourself, a +1 to save. I'm gonna, quote unquote +1 to save. And if you haven't pushed the enemy out of your territory by turn 3, something's probably gone wrong already anyway. So
that's probably battle plan dependent. If
you
have a big territory area, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But if it's small,
but keep in mind, you pick the asterism in the deployment phase, not in the list building phase.
Yeah.
So if you know you've got
this.
so if you know you've got a big deployment zone, like, oh, I'm not going to start with Quetzal the Preserver because I'm never going to get these fuckers out of my deployment zone.
Right.
So so that's what I like about it. Even though it's restrictive, but not that restrictive, which is why I still think these guys. I don't want to jump the gun here. I think Seraphon's heavy or high B tier in my opinion.
I like this
really
a lot,
strong.
Yeah,
I like this. I think it fits in line with what we've seen so far with all the other ones. I think they're really cool. But yeah, so to really quickly go through them. Itzel the Tamer, destroy 3 or more enemy units, probably super easy.
Yeah.
Quetzal the But again, if you're not running Monster Mash, there's no point picking Itzel the Tamer.
So
Quetzal the Pretzel.
Before we go on, there is a point. You're forgetting the 2 cav units because both of them are going to have companion units.
Like Agrodons. Oh, so if you're going to be running Agrodons the
Raptidon Chargers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you know what? An Agrodon heavy list could run Itzel the Tamer. Oh, Agrodon list would absolutely run Itzel the Tamer and finish this on turn 2.
Yeah, no, 100%. So would Raptidon Chargers too, as long as Raptidon Chargers are staying, because I think they're 2 damage bites, right? For the Raptidon Chargers?
No, they're 1 damage. Their spears are 2 damage if they are contesting an objective, or if they are near an arcane thing. But that's how it's gonna go away. Man, good catch. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, so this is gonna be really strong for Agrodons.
Yeah,
super.
It's gonna be pretty good on Raptidon Chargers too. I mean, they're 3 right now. They're 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 1 damage. So and that's a unit of 5. So you're getting 15.
Oh yeah,
15 3s and 3s. I mean, assuming they stay similar, I don't see why they would change that one in that case. But that was the first thing I thought of when you were like, oh, it's you got to run a Monster Mash. So I'm like, but do you though?
Yeah. I forget because I don't run Agrodons.
Aren't there flying skinks on flying birds too?
They've historically not been that great. I've seen some people meme Ripperdactyl lists, and they've had some fun with it. But the flying units are not really meta. But still fun to play. So yeah, fucking fantastic call out there. So that's good. Quetzal the Preserver, as we already said, no enemies wholly within territory, so not that hard, but definitely on some maps very hard. Sotek the Deliverer, I don't think anyone's ever going to pick Sotek the Deliverer as the starter one. I do think Sotek the Deliverer is going to be very powerful after the 3rd battle round when you got to start fucking around the board a lot. So yeah, you got to kill the enemy general.
Or just be in combat, or be in combat with them.
Is the enemy general is in combat? Oh,
so that's pretty easy.
A lot easier than just trying to kill him, especially if you're running an Agrodon list.
I would imagine if you're taking what's it called, Croxigors or something, you might take this, give them a little extra movement, just lock the general in combat, and then at the end of that turn, you maybe. That's the thing. That's the one thing that I don't. If you're not this, I feel like is really pushing you to take the models with companions. That seems clearly to be the best one.
Well, again, it's map dependent, and
but I just mean across the board, just giving everything +2 to move. Yeah, that's good. But is that a worthy battle trait across the board for your army? That's the only thing you're getting from your battle traits.
I do think it is.
Do you?
Yeah. So we haven't seen most of their movements, right? Like obviously this is all going to depend on where we're sitting, but when we're looking at movements just based on what we've seen so far, so that makes the Salon Starmaster 7-inch movement, which is pretty good. Get up from 5 to 7, making the Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur from 10 to 12
Hmm.
is is a good amount. Like the number of things that are balanced around being 10 to 8-inch movement is
Yeah.
feels to me significantly higher. So when you start breaking that 10, 12, 14-inch movement is where you really start to be able to aggress on the board significantly faster than most people expect. And to be able to decide that at the start, like, oh, I'm playing against Nurgle. Let me get +2 to move. Now I get to move around the board with impunity compared to Nurgle, who is obviously progressively slow. We're going to talk about Nurgle though
Yeah.
because they got a movement speed increase in some cases. What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Um, and then Pterodon Riders going from 14 to 16 isn't as big a deal, but like still 14 to 16 is good.
Yeah.
And that's I've built an entire army around going from 14 inches to 16 inches of movement, and that's the my Boru's list, the
Yeah.
Seraph or the Luminath Windchargers.
Hmm.
When they're within 6 of the general, they go from 14-inch movement to 16-inch movement, and they're treated as flying. That extra 2 inches of movement, in my opinion, has made most of that list exist and function in a way that's significantly higher. So like for me, if I saw something that was like, hey, now my wardens and Eltharion can get an extra 2 inches of movement without me having to cast Speed of Hish, I'm in. I'm sold. That's great. But
Yeah.
I'm a movement heavy guy. Obviously, I picked Wind Chargers as my Luminath army of choice. So like, it could be that I'm biased in this case.
No, I think you're right. Because if you really think about it, like OBR gets the +3 to move command
Yep.
like currently, and like you're basically using that on everything constantly. It's
Mhm.
it's actually huge. So especially, I mean, OBR is significantly slower, I would say, than like mounted units in
Yeah.
Seraphon. But regardless, it is a big difference. I'm probably under calculating the value there for sure.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I do think it's good. I don't think I would ever. Well, I mean, we'll see.
Depends on the list. Yeah.
I don't see myself picking Sotek as the opener. I do see myself picking it quite a bit as the closer. Like
Sure.
I think Sotek is a great closer. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of things are dead. You're scattered around the board. You got to start capping objectives and shit. It's like cool, 2 inch movement buff all around the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start, so I do like that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Tepak the Seer. If you have any friendly slans on the battlefield and they are not dead or they are not in combat, you complete it. Super simple.
Yeah. So
Also,
the
when
reason,
casting, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, the reason that I disagree with you about Quetzal the Preserver being the best, in my opinion, I think Itzel Tamer. Depending on your list, obviously, if you're not bringing companions, Itzel Tamer is going to do you no good. But in most cases, I don't like Quetzal the Preserver just because it really is dependent on your opponent not being able to shut it down and you being able to stop your opponent from shutting it down. Because your opponent, if they know what you're trying to do, can in most cases get a unit to block you off by turn 3 in your objective. Like
Anything with a
even
deep strike at all, they just hold it, drop it, you're good, you're done. I think
Yeah.
it's
The thing is, you don't lose it if you don't complete it. And so, to me, the reason I like Quetzal the Preserver so much is that it's, in my opinion, sort of the safest choice almost every time. Because let's say you do have a big deployment zone, right? It's halfway across the board, and you're probably not going to be able to kick people out of your territory. Well, that's fine because then more than likely most of the battle you can almost force onto your own territory, and so you're basically just getting a +1 save the whole fucking game. And against a lot of armies, like if I'm going up against Gargants on a giant board, I
yeah.
think I'm just going to pick Quetzal the Preserver anyway
You just
to
chill.
reduce some of their insane rend.
no, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't feel like in most cases that it's going to be that impactful because the problem is that a lot of the like you could say like, oh well, I could play a defensive game, but if you're playing a defensive game on a board that's split in half, you're probably not winning on points unless you're winning all the time on defense. And this doesn't let you win harder on defense, it lets you survive longer on defense. If it was +1 rend when you're on defense, I would be 100% for it, because then you could play a defensive game and just beat the shit out of whatever comes into your territory. This is, hey, I'm not going to die. Are you going to kill people, though? Who knows, you know?
Yeah, I don't think this is bad in any way. I just think it's
I don't think any of them are bad.
It's extremely dependent. Like, all of these really are just maximally dependent on battle plan, opponent, which is kind of what makes it good, right? Like, it allows you to be flexible, right? Yeah, and your own list. So I'm here for this completely. I like all of this. We could argue all day whether or not which one's the best, which one's the worst, you know, but it depends, you know.
Right,
100%.
That would be that. I mean, that would be a tough. Like, the -1 to rend would be a tough one for me to deal with OBR. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, it's in the good thing. Like, if you're going up against Kale, you're like, okay, well, I'm definitely not gonna pick that then, because that's useless.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's
well, we
move
did
down.
we got our first battle formation. It is the Sunclaw Starhost, Vengeance of Azir. Pick 3 Saurus or Kroxigor units that are in combat to be the targets. So it's once per turn at the end of any turn, so either yours or your opponent's. They make a pile-in, and essentially on a 2-up, they do damage equal to the mortals, equal to the roll. It's, you know, it's not. I think it's okay. I do think it's okay. It's free gulping bites. It's their free new bites. Again, once per turn, so you can do it 5 times. So and so 3 times 5, you're doing 15 D3 mortal wounds for free at the end of, you know, like, okay,
10 times.
sure.
You get to do it 10 times.
But you can pick 3 units.
Once per turn.
10 times.
Any turn. Yeah.
Any turn. So
it's
top of turn 1,
times.
bottom of turn 1. Top of turn 2, bottom of turn 2. Top of turn 3, bottom of turn 3.
Yeah.
Once per turn.
Army. End of any turn.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you can do an end of my turn, end of your turn, end of any turn.
So 30 times?
You're like at minimum getting 30.
Oh, 30. No, 30 is the max. Like,
Well, 30 is the max, yeah. You have to be in combat the whole time, obviously, but
yeah.
that's
No, I
still
mean, you're
good.
at like minimum doing 30 mortals. If you're rolling 2, like, that's a lot. That's
per
at
turn.
maximum.
You know
what you're doing?
Fuck yeah. Okay.
90 mortals if you're in combat the whole game.
No.
If you roll 6s on the or 3s on the D3
90,
every single time.
90 mortals, he's right.
You're doing 90 mortals throughout the game.
90 mortals throughout the game. If you're in combat the whole game with 3 Saurus or Kroxigor units. Now, I will say, I didn't pay attention to the Saurus or Kroxigor, so when I saw that now, I was like, it's all right. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, Agrodon Lancers are a Saurus unit, aren't they?
Sure.
And I'm like, that's great. Honestly, this is great.
Yeah. No, that's I didn't
with
catch
exploding 6s on their companions.
On their mouth bites, yeah. I'm in,
bro.
sold. Give it to me.
Time to start buying Agrodons up the ass.
That's why when we started talking about this, I was like, Chef's kiss. You know, I did the animation and everything. I was like, this is great.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, fuck, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Spell. Unlimited.
Yeah, spell.
Unlimited spell.
Unlimited spell. Mystical Unforging. Casting value of 6. Enemy within range of 12. Subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of the target's weapons. So all their weapons.
Yeah.
It doesn't say melee or shooting until the end of your next turn. It's not wholly within 12, so that's
dangerous.
really good. That's really good. Really good. Really dangerous. There's no cap. No cap.
No cap.
You know, we've seen that rend for the most part has been reduced. This is really strong. And I don't think you're gonna need to do it in an insane amount of times. But this is a great thing to have in your toolkit if you're going up against Marathi or Gargants, you know, or Kragnos. Like, cool. 0 rend, baby. Do something about it.
Or KO too.
Yeah, and I mean,
all
just
their weapons.
And I mean, again, this could stack too with your Quetzal the Preserver.
Pretzel.
Yeah,
Quetzal the Pretzel.
Quetzal the Pretzel.
I'm pretty sure Quetzal's Pretzels is a actual place. So.
Oh, nice. Slan Starmaster, 9 health, 5 move, 5 up save. So he did go from a 4 up to a 5 up. Does have a 6 up ward though. He's a 3 cast wizard. He is a War Master, which we now know, due to leaks, that War Master means they have to be your general. So good to know.
As long as you don't have another War Master. If you have more than one War Master, one of the War Masters has to be your general.
War Master has to be a general. Correct.
Correct. So like I'm saying, if you're bringing like Croak and Croak's a War Master and you're bringing a Slann, you could make the Slann the general and have Croak not be the general. That's allowed, but one of them has to be your general.
I do. So the thing is, GW sort of. I could have sworn GW said unique people were going to be able to get command traits and artifacts, but then somebody pointed out today that apparently in the new GHB it says they can't. So I think it's either going to be you bring a War Master or you bring 2, so that you don't get, so that you don't have to give you don't waste your unique one, with not being able to have a command trait or an artifact. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think a lot is dependent on whatever's in the GHB, like cards or whatever it looks like. So
yeah,
I'm not totally positive.
Slann, add 1 to casting rolls, add 1 to cast. So not unbinding or banishing. So just casting. That's actually, I didn't catch that before, so that's new. And then they still could unbind anywhere on the battlefield or banish anywhere on the battlefield.
Yep.
Super strong. Their War Scroll spell is Celestial Equilibrium. Add 1 to casting values for Seraphon Wizards, wholly within 12. So that is a nerf. Probably a good nerf, because it used to just be anywhere on the battlefield. Casting value of 6, super strong. Arcane Vassal, that used to be command trait, actually, I believe. But pick a friendly, no, it was on there before. Pick a friendly Skink Wizard, wholly within 18 of this unit. And when you, the Slann, cast a spell, you can measure the range and visibility of the next spell from that unit. Pretty good, pretty strong. Yeah.
Spell Portal Skink.
Spell Portal Skink. So that's really good. And then Celestial Reinforcements. Pick a Seraphon unit that started the battle with 3 or more models and that's been destroyed. On a 4-up, you bring a replacement unit at half strength, wholly within 12 of this Slann, and more than 9. It feels like a enormous nerf to Starborn, especially considering Death and Gits just do it for a command point.
Yeah.
Given the strength of what we've seen so far, I suppose we'll just have to see if that ends up just being how shitty that ends up being. But yeah, I guess that's their new summoning. So
I honestly think that's great. I mean, just look at it this way: when you have a unit of 3 Croxagore and 3 of them die, you're bringing back 2.
Yeah.
And it's not capped. It's not once per game. It's once per turn on your hero phase. Obviously, if you have multiple Slann, there's no reason you can't do it multiple times. So having 2 Slann and coming back with, I don't know, 5 Saurus Warriors or 10 Skinks because you reinforced them, or 2 Croxagore or 3 Croxagore if you had a unit of 6. Agrodon Warriors coming back on a
4-up, yeah.
On a 4-up, that's just good business.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not complaining because I like what I've seen so far from the Seraphon. So, this probably end up feeling better. Down to the Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur, 14 health, 10-inch movement, 4-up save, counts as 5. Kept his Sunbolt Gauntlet, can shoot in combat, D6 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage. Everything else makes sense. The Sunstone, they compressed all the Celestite weapons for the Old Blood. The Jaws went down to 3 damage.
Claws
I don't
and
think
the
there's
Jaws blowing up on 6s.
The Jaws blowing up on 6s now, yeah.
That's really good. 2's the wound too, which is crazy.
Well, yeah,
if it blows up, you're hitting. Like, you're doing some damage.
Yeah, and that's what we know. Monster profiles are going to be 4s and 2s now, so that's really good. Spearhead on the charge. If the Saurus Old Blood charges, then add 1 to charge rolls for all Saurus units wholly within 18. That's really good. I kind of wish it would have said Seraphon and not Saurus. So this would be really good for like warriors and agrodons, but not anybody else really. So shame. But still really good. Terror, subtract 2 from the control scores of enemy units while they're in combat with this. So 2 total, right? It's not per model. So yeah, just 2 total.
No, it's 2 total, yeah.
Yep. And then Blood Frenzy. If this unit is in combat with any damaged enemy monsters, roll a dice. On a 3-up, that unit has strikes first for the rest of the turn. I think that's great. It is not hard for Seraphon to do damage to something before they get into combat with it.
I mean, you've got a way built in right there. Your Sunbolt Gauntlet. You know,
Yep.
you got a decent chance. Obviously, you know, if you roll a 1 on the attacks and then you roll a 1 to hit, obviously you're not going to do it. But just having D6 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 1 damage, there's a good chance you're going to ping a wound off a monster if you're charging a monster. And the range is 12, so obviously if you're in charge range, you're in shooting range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Pterodon Riders, their profiles stayed the same. The attack from on high passive stayed the same, which is subtract 1 from shooting attacks. Deadly Cargo did change a little bit. So you, for each 5-up that you roll to do damage to the unit that you passed over, not only do you inflict 1 mortal wound, but that unit, if the unit does not have fly, they cannot run anymore. So that's pretty cool. And then the Engine of the Gods. So the javelins got 4s and 4s, no rend but 1 damage, and can shoot in combat. Pretty cool. Sorry, their movement profile stayed the same. 14 health, 8-inch movement, 4-up save, counts as 5. And then their melee weapons. So this is now what the Stegodon's melee weapons are going to look like. They lost quite a few attacks and quite a bit of upfront damage, healthy damage, but getting +1 to charge, getting +1 damage when they charge is really good. And when you combine that with crit hits, that means you have the potential to do what's 12 times 3? What's 3 times 12? You can do 36 damage. You can do 36 damage with a Stegodon on the charge. Pretty sweet.
It's a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. So yeah, I think Thunder Lizards will see some play.
And that's on 3s and 2s if you all out attack.
Yeah, there's that. Yep, 3s and 2s if you're all out attack. So charging Stegodons are something to behold. Yeah, so the profile makes sense. It's in line with all the other stuff we've seen. Fantastic. Crest of Horns. I really like this. I know some people have been complaining in the Seraphon Discord, but essentially what it is now is their rampage is that they pick a unit that they charged. On a 2-up, they do D3 mortal wounds, right? Or they add 1 to save rolls for the enemy unit that they charged. So the nerf is that they used to get impact hits and they used to be able to just pick 1 unit no matter what. But the thing is, you were limited before. You had to pick a unit that had 5 or less models. Now you just get a +1 to save against anything that you charge.
No, I think it's anything that charges you. Pick an enemy unit that charged this turn and is in combat with this unit to be the target. So you're only getting this if it charges you.
Yeah. But
add 1 to save rolls for attacks made by that enemy unit that target this unit for the
not down there, the declare step.
Yeah.
The declare step up above. Pick an enemy unit that charged this turn and is in combat with this unit to be the target.
Oh, why would you do damage? Interesting.
But imagine them bracing. You know, it's a Stegodon. It lowers its head. It's bracing for the charge. But I would point out that instead of either or, it's when they are charged on a 2-up on D3, you inflict the mortal wounds and you get the +1 to save.
Yeah.
It's not either or.
So Stegodons are sort of becoming an interesting defensive unit. Yeah, yes. I could dig that. What are people complaining about? This is really good. I think it's really good. I actually think it's even better now that you guys, you're bracing yourself and you're just a spear wall, spear wall. This is great. Fuck people.
But it is going off on a 3-up, because we're talking about a 2-up on a D3, so it's going off on a 3-up. It also means that
that's pretty weird.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for most of their things. Is what the hell?
It is
One
Wait, it
second.
weird.
only go. No, wait, it goes off on a 2 and a 3. Dude, I hate this new system with the
No, it
D3s.
doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No, not on a two,
Roll
because
a
a one and a
D3 on
two
a
is a
2
one.
up.
A
Oh,
D3.
on a 3 up. I thought he was talking about a 3 up on a D3,
Yeah.
not a 3 up on a D6, which would be a 2 up on a D3. You know what?
Yarp.
Fucking.
And then lastly, their new cosmic engine. I like it. Essentially, at the beginning of your hero phase, you can decide, hey, am I gonna pop off, or am I gonna give myself a power token? If you pop off, you roll a dice. On a 3 up, you can heal D3 to all Seraphon units within 12. On a 5 up, you can pick 3 Seraphon units wholly within 12
Yep.
and return 1 slain model to each unit. That's really good. I think you're going to see Engine of the Gods in a lot of Agradon lists and a lot of Kroxigor lists, because that's just a lot of wounds to be bringing back.
Mhm.
Or Time Slows, which is on a 6 up. You pick 3 Seraphon units within 12, and they will have strike firsts. If you decided to hold and not pop off and get a power token, for each power token you've accumulated, you add that much to the roll. I think
Like
it's
that.
solid.
It's like a
I
prayer,
think it's
kind of.
this. Yeah, exactly. It is like a prayer, which could be a throwback to the fact that the Engine of the Gods used to be a priest.
Yeah.
But
like it.
regardless, this is probably the smoothest version of the Engine of the Gods we've seen, and I like it.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
this too.
And you can
Yeah.
always roll the dice on it, or you can take the slow and steady, which plays into, I feel, what Seraphon's sort of being built around, which seems to be you can play Seraphon fast and loose, or you can play it like a slow plotting defensive army, depending on how you build it and what asterisms you choose. If you choose Quetzal the Preserver, you're getting -1 rend. You bring one wizard or a couple wizards to debuff the rend, and all of a sudden your army's basically a rock on defense. You get to sit here with the Engine of the Gods, who's also good on defense because of the Crest of Horns. But if you didn't need to turn it around, Engine of the Gods does 3 damage on the charge now.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the it seems like that's the dichotomy between the two, is you can either be a really aggressive army or you can be a really defensive army, and you can mix and match whatever you need as part of both list building and each game.
Yeah.
You know,
It seems extremely flexible to me, which is just
Yep.
great, across the board.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah,
let's
but that's it.
let's pull up
that's
the
it.
tier list here. And,
I give it.
see
I
where
give
we're
it a
gonna
high
go.
B. That's where I'm at.
I'm giving it a
Super-
low A.
Ooh.
Wow.
I just the flexibility that exists here, and the fact that most of it's decidable at the start of the game. Like, your battle traits being decided at the start of the game is always, in my opinion, going to be great. And these battle traits are all phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's not a bad one of the bunch. And
No.
even me talking down to Quetzal the Preserver is just in comparison to the other ones. I like
Sure.
I like the other ones a lot more. But Quetzal the Preserver is still a fucking phenomenal ability.
Yeah, I agree. I'm giving it an A, man. I think it's.
You're going low A.
I
Sure.
think it's flexible enough where, like, a bad player is probably gonna do fine with it if they just
Yeah.
play, like, if they remember the rules at minimum, and a good player is gonna do really well because it's flexible enough to play around whatever they need. So I think that puts it in a pretty solid A, to be honest. I think it's right there with Zinch.
The only
All
reason
right.
I'm giving it a
for it.
low A is because I haven't seen anything that really hits like a truck. Obviously the Old Blood on Carnosaur hits like a truck, but like that's kind of his stick.
Yeah.
I-
I mean,
I
mean,
exploding
Kroxigor hit pretty
companion
hard.
weapons, you can just imagine how good that's going to be. So,
Sure, Kroxigor's, and there is also a subfaction or a battle formation that increases the Sunstone weapons. They mentioned that in like the little blurb at the bottom. There's one that makes War Beasts better, so obviously you're still gonna have right below. If you go back to right below Sunclaw Starhost, there's a tiny little two-line sentence where it says, "Other formations capitalize on the indomitable Seraphon War Beasts, tap into celestial energies to teleport key units around the battlefield, or exploit the natural swiftness of the nimble skink hosts." Oh, I don't know where I saw the Sunstone ones.
Interesting.
The Sunstone one I saw was the spells. There's a spell that increases the Celestite ore found in Seraphon weapons, and that's from the Lore of the Jungles. So Seraphon is also another one of our factions that has at least two spell
Two
lords.
spell lords.
Only one of two. Well, I think only Zinch and Seraphon have been said out loud.
I really don't know what they're going to do about Lumineth, but we'll talk about Lumineth when we get there. Obviously, we're going to do a deep dive on Lumineth, which is why I'm not talking about it right now.
Not today, though.
Not today.
Not
today.
Cool.
Well, let's
on to the
move
next.
on.
We're here with the Cruel Boys. Cunning,
The cruelest,
but brutal. Give it to me, Rich.
All right, so the Cruel Boys. I believe now we can put to rest that the Cruel Boys and the Auric Warclans are getting split. I'm fairly certain we can say for sure that they are in fact split.
I'll believe
Big
it when I
time.
see it.
I think it's true.
he's still out. He still doesn't believe me. That's fair. All right, so the Cruel Boys. We're still battle trait being Dirty Trick.
Mm-hmm.
Venom encrusted weapons is still a pseudo battle trait. Obviously now it's on weapons. You're seeing 6s to hit do mortals. That's pretty much what everyone who had that before is now getting rolled into the War Scroll rather than being a battle trait.
Yeah.
But the dirty tricks, I like them. I think they're phenomenal. We'll start by just going over what each one is.
Okay.
You can pick one ability per phase, and it goes off on a 2-up on the first turn, or on the first round. It goes off on a 3-up on the second round, a 4-up on the third round, a 4th and 5th round, you're on a 5-up. So already better than it used to be, in my opinion. Granted, you don't get it right off the bat, but you get to pull one every turn, which is just good, honestly.
So you're rolling a dice at the beginning of the round. If you get a 2-up round 1, you get a dirty trick that round. If you get a 3-up the second round, you get a dirty trick that round.
No. It's every phase. Your army
is every phase.
No, yeah, it's your arm. No, yeah, dude, it's your army can use one dirty trick every phase. You can do 3 dirty tricks in one turn.
Yo.
It's just different phases, but it gets harder each phase, not each round. So and that resets at the beginning of the new round, right? So round 1, your first dirty trick's on a 2, your second one's on a 3, on a 4, on a 5, and then you can just keep going, right? As many times as you want for the rest of the round. Then round 2, okay, back down to a 2-up roll now.
It's actually even better than that. It's only when you have a successful dirty trick, I think. So if I rolled a 2-up and I fail it, I think it doesn't count as a successful dirty trick. Therefore, it's still the first dirty trick. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, the success of the dirty trick roll depends on the number of dirty tricks your army has already used.
Bruh.
That is definitely.
So you're rolling 2-ups until you get it. But that really where the play comes with this is that if you are like, all right, I'm just gonna roll every single round, maybe you really need that like combat phase dirty trick, and
so you hold off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's phenomenal.
No, yeah, I think that new thing is great.
Yeah. So what we've got in our dirty tricks, we'll start with the one in the hero phase. We'll just go by phases. So hero phase first, obviously. Venom encrusted weapons.
Wait, before we do this, so if we're reading that correctly, that would mean that venom encrusted weapons would only function for the turn that you roll it, so you can't get them in your opponent's turn because you can only roll the dirty trick in your own hero phase. So that kind of sucks a little bit.
That is correct.
Okay. Anyway.
No. Because the venom
until the
next
start of your next turn.
Yeah. Okay. But because the venom encrusted weapons as effect says until the start of your next turn, the target's attack roll. So it's not just for that turn.
It would persist.
Okay.
It would persist until your next turn. It's until the start of your next hero phase.
My brain just broke from this.
No. It's tricky.
It's tricky.
Dirty.
This is a dirty
I love
trick.
it. I love it. So venom encrusted weapons. We're no longer giving out 5-ups with. I don't think we're going to give out 5-ups with the priests or the swamp call shamans. Maybe they still will. Maybe if you have them, you can pick an additional unit to give out the venom encrusted weapons. Maybe that's how they're going to roll it into the battle trait. We'll see how it goes because we didn't see them, and they didn't give it to Gobsprak because we did see Gobsprak.
Mm-hmm.
So That's cool. I like it. I like venom encrusted weapons. It's good that it's only one unit. Obviously, that means that you're not going to see, unless the Swamp Call Shamans can give out extra ones. You're probably not going to see the 2 Swamp Call Shamans. That's always part of a Cruel Boys list, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah.
That's just good. It's good business. It cuts down on this doubling up on a unit just because of one ability that the unit does.
Yeah. It's healthy for the army, I think.
Yeah, and that one, venom encrusted weapons will always go off on a 2+ because it's always at the start of the turn for you. You're never gonna have done a dirty trick before it, so it's always gonna be a 2+ to get that one off, which is great. Obviously, it's a little bit more useful because it's also, you don't need to tie your priest, or your, not priest, but your Swamp Call Shaman to the hip of your 6-man Bolt Boys. You can just be like, hey, I don't really care because I can do this from anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really expanding their ability to move. It's giving them a lot more space to play around in. It's just really good.
It's uncastling them.
Yeah, uncastling them, which is great. I think uncastling every army is a great thing because castles are boring. Saying it now. All right, so that's the one in the hero phase. Once per turn, and this is any movement phase for sneaking.
Yes, it is.
So that means that if your opponent's going first, you can use it in their turn. If you're going first, you can use it in their turn. But it will depend on how many other dirty tricks you pull off if you're using it in the enemy turn. Say you're going first, the enemy's taking the second. It depends on how many dirty tricks you pulled off in your turn where this is going to go off. But you pick a friendly Cruel Boys infantry unit that has 10 or fewer models and is not in combat. Then make a dirty trick roll. Remove that target from the battlefield and set up wholly again within 3 inches of any terrain, of a terrain feature, and more than 9 inches away from all enemy units.
That's a dirty trick.
Listen, teleporting in your opponent's movement phase. Sign me the fuck up.
Yes, I'm so glad you're on board.
Teleporting,
fuck up.
teleporting some
Go
Bolt
ahead.
Boys in your
Yes.
movement phase with venom encrusted weapons, and then shooting them.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Obviously, you need
fucking crazy, man.
you need to roll the 2 up and then the 3 up to do it, but like, fuck, you can. You know, and it's just a phenomenal bit. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit rough if you had. It's obviously not going to do any good if you have a like 20-man unit of Hobgrots or a 20-man unit of
Or will it?
no, because it says 10 or fewer.
Oh.
It specifically says that thing
I
that I said. Yeah, well, or if you have what's the name of the spear, guys? What's
Gut Rippers?
Gut Rippers. Yeah, obviously,
Well,
if you reinforce Gut Rippers.
Yeah. I think there's so much you can do with sneaking. I think exactly, like, just being able to, in your opponent's phase, you know, they try to screen away from covering fire, and then you just go, nah, I'm just gonna move over here instead. And you didn't screen over here for covering fire. Super strong. It's also a really good fucking way to bait your opponent into thinking that you don't know how to deploy, right? Because you could just because they could just be like, oh, he left this thing unguarded. No, sneaking.
Bye.
I wanted you to think that I left this unguarded, bitch.
You want to hear the dirtiest thing that you can do with sneaking?
Go on.
Go ahead and teleport them 9 away, and then redeploy at the end of the phase.
Yeah.
You can push up, you can push back. Sneaking. I fucking love it. I'm here for it. I am so here for it.
It's so good.
It's so good. All right, and then we'll go on to Lethal Surprise in the any charge phase. Again, we're any charge phase. Pick an enemy unit that charges turn. So this works on your counter charges. This works in your opponent's charge phase. Great, love it. With any friendly Cruel Boys unit to be the target, and then make a dirty trick roll. Inflict D3 mortal damage. So no 2 up to do D3. It's just D3, based on obviously making the dirty trick roll. And in addition, for the rest of the turn, the target's weapons cannot be affected by the charge +1 damage weapon ability. This is a little bit more situational because obviously if your opponent doesn't have any of these, you're just doing D3 mortal wounds, which is still good. Mortal damage is still good. It's still a great thing. Obviously, if you might want to hold off if you want to do noisy racket, because you're feeling a little bit more defensive. Your opponent doesn't have a charge +1 damage, but it's good. I like it. obviously you can always try it if you need to at the turn, like whatever, however many you've done. At worst, you're on a 4-up at this case, unless you went second and did a sneaky sneak in your opponent's turn,
Yeah.
and then did another one in your turn. Then you might be on a 5-up, but like it's mostly going to be on a 4-up if you used every other dirty trick, and they all went off.
And at least you're never in a position where you can't make a roll. It's like, well, might as well just see if I get a 5-up.
Yeah,
like just try it.
Yeah, might as well. There's really no reason not to.
That also brings up a point of just like, it seems like Cruel Boys kind of want to be going first so they can get the 2-up on the Venom Encrusted Weapons. Because otherwise, if they're going second and they do these other things, then you're rolling like a 4 or 5-up on the Venom Encrusted Weapons, which is probably kind of tough, you know?
That's true.
Here's my opinion. I don't think, in my opinion, that we're gonna see. I don't think I'm gonna use Venom Encrusted Weapons very often, unless Bolt Boys keep crit mortals, which we don't know. Spoiler alert: we don't know yet because we haven't seen them yet. Otherwise, I think I just wait. I'm just like, all right, I'm good.
Well, remember, you can't cast it in your opponent's phase, so it's going to be something that you'll have to decide if you end up going first. You want to pop off with the Venom Encrusted Weapons. I'm going to be honest. I don't imagine the Bolt Boys lost it.
I don't think they would have.
I feel like it's pretty core to their identity.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so because right now we're seeing the abandonment of crit mortals on shooting attacks. So I hope they're an exception because you're right. It is part of their identity.
I don't think we've seen the abandonment. We just haven't seen the other unit that does it a lot, which is Sentinels.
Mm-hmm. True.
Or like how many other
long strikes or what? Like,
yeah, we haven't seen
them
strikes
either. So we haven't seen any of the models that would have had
any of the models that would have that. So I wouldn't say that we've seen them move away from it. Yeah, we just haven't seen them.
Yeah,
I think they're probably safe. I'm gonna be honest. As much as I don't like it, honestly, I wish they would design it not around 5-up crits because I think that just makes the army a little bit too swingy. But we haven't seen what they've pointed anything as. You know, we haven't seen any of the points, so I can't make those determinations. But I think they're probably going to stick with the Bolt Boys having Venom Encrusted Weapons. And then the last dirty trick before we get off topic is in the any combat phase, once per turn, any combat phase, Noisy Racket. Pick an enemy unit in combat with any friendly Cruel Boys units to be the target, then make a dirty trick rule. That target is strikes last. Phenomenal. Way better than the old Noisy Racket, which was just -1 to wound in the first battle round.
Yeah,
which was
hot.
It's hot. It's hot.
I love
and you
this.
can
Dude, I'm just saving my 2-ups for this.
I don't know if you do though, because it's only one unit.
I love it.
Again,
I love strike last.
It all depends, right? Like you could, in theory, if you don't go first and you bait someone into a lethal surprise Noisy Racket combo, you're doing D3 mortal damage and you're reducing their charge weapon damage, and then you give them strikes last 2. That's gross. And it works. It works on Hobgrots probably. Like, ugh.
I mean, what Noisy Racket is so good because you can even like sort of have like a vulture sitting kind of in a weird position, waiting for a counter charge. So your opponent charges you. You're like, cool, I'm gonna counter charge you with my fucking vulture. He's like, haha, that's what I wanted you to do. Okay, Noisy Racket. Now you strike last, buddy. Like now you're gonna deal with the thing you charged, and my vulture is gonna strike first because you strike last. Fuck you. Yeah. You thought, my guy. You thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
So it does say your rank and file infantry can prepare Venom Encrusted Weapons. So I assume that since Bolt Boys are probably still infantry, we're probably keeping Venom Encrusted Weapons. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, it all depends. So let's look at the first battle formation, which was an old sneaky trick and one of the few sneaky tricks that if I'm recalling correctly, that lasted longer than the first round.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's correct.
And by old sneaky trick, I mean they battle scrolled it in like 2-3 years after the
Yeah.
The Cruel Boys came out to give them something. Um, Friendly Cruel Boys units that are wholly within 3 of a terrain feature are not visible to enemy units that are more than 12 inches away. It's the old Grinning Blades rule.
Yeah.
Super good.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. This wasn't a dirty trick. This was a
Sub-faction.
battle. It was a battle tactic.
No, it's a sub-faction. This is the Grid and Blaze is a sub-faction.
Let me finish.
No, I think it was a battle trait within the army.
It was a battle. So it was a battle tactic to have your entire army wholly within 3 inches or within 3 inches of a terrain feature. It was the sub-faction Grinning Blades that allowed you to be invisible more than 12 away. So it's a combination.
I see what you're saying.
It's a combination of 2 different things sort of getting mashed together, but it makes more sense.
I don't like this at all. I think it's bad.
I mean, considering you're looking at standardized terrain on every map, I'm fairly certain that this is significantly better than you're giving it credit for. Because if I'm recalling all the standardized terrain, it was in an X formation. So what you can do is you can move up the X formation as you're like moving your guys. You move from one to the next piece of cover, and then you're just not taking shots from someone who's sitting back and going, "Oh, well, I've got 20 sentinels back here, so let me just shoot you 20 times." Nope.
This isn't the world of like we don't know where the fucking terrain's gonna be anymore. Like it's like, hey, we know where the terrain's gonna be, and you can look at battle plans ahead of time and be like, this is probably a good place for my Cruel Boys to be.
Yeah, that's true. And it functions well with the dirty trick where you're teleporting them wholly within 3 as well. So, yeah.
Oh yeah,
100%. So there's it looks like based on what they said in the little blurb below, we're still keeping what's Big Yellers. Big Yellers was the ranged one because they talk about a supply of specialty fletch bolts for when you're ranging. You need to pick things off.
Yeah.
There's another one that focuses on stealth and mobility to better ambush the enemy and steal their shiniest stuff. No idea what that's going to be like. Or go to the menagerie with fearsome war beasts. So that's probably going to be like your monster mash list
or whatever they're called,
which wasn't really a thing. So
yeah, they might be.
I'm here for it. I
think
it up. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, we don't know what those ones are. We're just going off of what we're guessing. It could be that they get like it could be that they give companion weapons crit mortals. It could be that they give companion weapons crit 2 hits. Because most of the companion weapons don't have crit mortals now.
Yeah.
That'll be weak until you get hyena cavalry.
Yeah. Well, listen, a man can dream about his hyena cavalry.
Someday.
My Nash Tooth cavalry. I'm so excited for that. All right, so unfortunately now we're getting to the nerf cries, big tears. So choking mist used to be you pick a unit or pick a point within 24 inches, and every enemy unit within 6 of that is -1 attack and can't run, or -1 to run. I think it was can't run.
Something like that. Something disgusting.
Yeah. So now it's an enemy unit wholly within 18, and then you subtract 1 from the attack's characteristic of the target until the start of your next turn.
And
so
it's not unlimited.
Big nerf on choking mist. We'll have to see what the rest of their spells do, because they talk about creating poisonous quagmires or gifting their allies with the guile and mark. Maybe poisonous quagmires is like a slowing field that you can put down. So you pick a point and everything within there's -1 to run and charge. Obviously we're making guesses on that point, but choking mist as it is, not a great spell, not ideal. Probably not going to cast it that often.
I don't think it's a bad spell depending on what you're going against, but I just don't think it's as good as what it was, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's still the same difficulty to cast. It was a 7 before, it's a 7 now.
It's hard to cast. That's the issue.
The range went down from 24 to 18 as well.
Yeah, and it was a point within 24, and now it's a unit wholly within 18. So it's significantly less versatile than it used to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was probably stronger than it should have been. And if the rest of Cruel Boys went up and that spell had stayed the same, we'd probably be looking at an OP spell at that point.
I think you were always looking with Cruel Boys, at least, it always sort of felt like if you can get all your spells off, you can be extremely powerful. But if you don't, you're kind of just a a glass cannon, you know,
Yeah, and you never had any inherent pluses to cast.
yeah,
Either.
exactly.
Cool
So I
Boys.
think with this, it's sort of it's a better situation where like I don't think you really want Cruel Boys to be like we need to get our magic off type of a faction. So I think a nerf
No.
is warranted in the spell department because their spells were way too powerful for the idea of like Cruel Boys wizards, you know.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and it seems as if everything else has risen and the spells have gone down, which makes them more consistent across the board. You would hope, right?
Yeah, that's that. Honestly, I'm hoping that's the case. So, I'm hoping everything got up and the spells just had to take a slight back step because they were. I mean, Summon Boggy Mist was a great spell. Plus one to charge board wide, -1 for your opponents to charge board wide. Excellent spell. But if it didn't go off, then your army starts to fall down a bit. You don't get Choking Mist off. Your army starts to fall down a bit, and then the rest of the spells were kind of superfluous in most cases.
Yeah.
Like, the Black Pit was only ever useful if I was walking into like, oh, here's 10 Vindictors because they're a 3-up save, and I drop them into the fucking quagmire. Like, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. It was never useful. Like, I did it when there was, I did it when I was running into 30 Blitzbar archers because, I get 30 dice rolls then. That's good, but like it was on 5s, I think, because the Blitzbarbs were armor 5 and it was depending on your armor value. But enough about the spells. Yeah, now we got to talk about my boy Gabi. Gabiru.
Lord Gabiru, let's go.
That's an anime reference that only Carlos and I do every time. Every time I talk about Gobsprag, it's always Lord Gabiru. But here we are. So 14 health, 5-up save. So far, I'm fairly certain that's the same. 12-inch movement. I believe so far it's same across the board. Mm-hmm. He's got his 6-up ward still, which is it's good, but he's a little bit glass cannon. But what we got is his Demon Finger Staff. Now, for those of you that don't know Gobsprag's model, his wizard staff has a Demon of Zinch hand on it at the top, and that was part of like his spellcasting lore. Is he has this really obviously good at spellcasting because it's a Zinch demon's hand on his stick. So the Demon Finger Staff, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend, D3 damage, but we are crit mortals, and we are anti-wizard. 1 rend against wizards.
Kind of cool.
Kind of cool. It's thematic. I don't think it's going to come up super often, but it's thematic, and I like it. It's good.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Killabeak's Talons and Beak being anti-wizard +1 rend. That's where we start to get a little bit like, damn, 7 attacks, 4s and 2s, rend 2 against wizards, 2 damage apiece, but we don't have crit mortals, which is still true currently. Killabeak's Stinger does have crit mortals, and it's still D6 damage. It's also 3s and 2s, which is really good because it's only 1 attack. If you ever have a 1 attack thing, it should at least be 3s to hit. Because the worst thing to have happen is to roll like on a 4s to hit on a one attack. You're just like, oh, I rolled a 3. Well, I guess that just sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, and being able to do D6 mortal wounds is pretty good.
Yeah, D6 mortal wounds is great. Obviously, but you won't be able to venom encrusted weapons it.
Because he's not in infantry.
Correct. Because not infantry, correct. Yeah.
Not only is it not infantry, but it's also a companion weapon, so it can't take advantage of abilities.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Correct.
But still, you were never using it on Gobsprag anyway, unless he was your last model and you just sort of threw it. You just sort of hoped. But no one ever really did that unless you were having a bad time. Yeah. So it's not really a big deal. Battle damaged, when the unit has suffered 10 or more, the Killabeak Talons, you lose 2 attacks. It goes from 7 to 5. No big deal. That's actually a pretty reasonable reduction for having taken 10 wounds. Mm-hmm. Definitely better than the old battle damage thing.
Definitely.
Screaming Mandrak, once per battle, you get to 3d6 unbind instead of 2d6, which is what it was now. No differences there. The other passive is Mork Says No. Every time you unbind a spell, inflict D3 mortal damage on the caster. And if the unbinding roll was a 10+, inflict D6 mortal damage. That obviously works in conjunction with Screaming Mandrax, so 3d6 on a 10 plus, you're doing d6. Still a great ability, a great pair of abilities. Love that they kept that. I think it's very much part of Gobsprak's like theme. We're going with his spell, which is he never actually had his own spell before. So this is a buff because he didn't have one. He didn't even have Summon Boggy Mist, I don't think. Even though he was, a Swamp Collar Shaman just like his other boys, but he didn't have any built-in spell. So now he has Strangle Hacks. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18, not wholly within, so just within 18. Roll a number of dice equal to the target's health characteristic to a maximum of 10. For each 4+, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. It's good. It's a good spell.
Yeah, solid.
10 mortal damage. Obviously you're not pointing it at your one health characteristic foot troops. You're looking for monsters in these cases, but still good. Still good business. Still like it. And it's an easy to cast 6, so not bad at all. And then his Rampage. Crush to Death. Crush to Death. It's a great Rampage name. Pick an enemy unit in combat, so this is any combat phase, and it's not at the end of the combat phase, so I think it's obviously can happen at the start. So roll a dice. If the roll exceeds the target's health characteristic, one model in the target unit is slain. Pretty boring, pretty standard. I don't know who picks which model, so I don't know if you're going to be seeing like picking a unit for coherency or picking off.
It's got to be your opponent.
I think your opponent does, yeah, for sure.
I agree with you guys. I don't think that's what they were going for, but it's okay. It's not a great Monsters Rampage, but you're not really bringing Gobsprak for his Monsters Rampages.
Yeah.
You're bringing him for...
I think it's decent, though. I mean, you could roll a 4-up and kill something with 4 wounds,
Yeah, no, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate it at all. I think it's great. It's just it's not as good as some of the other Rampages we've seen. But again, he's not your combat style monster. He's there to do his buff piece stuff. He's there to debuff your enemies. He's there to unbind. He's doing his job by unbinding. So, and obviously he's a War Master, so he probably ends up being your general unless you bring another War Master. So good news, mostly that Gobsprak seems to be pretty similar. The only thing I kind of wish he had a cooler Rampage, just something a bit more thematic than Crushed to Death. But
yeah,
I'm okay with it. Our next model is the Killer Boss on Great Nash Tooth. I think, did he get a health increase? I know his save was a 3-up.
It might have.
But
his save was not a 3-up. It was a 4-up unless you equipped him with the shield.
That was the foot troop variety.
You sure it's not both?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's not both. Look it up. Look it up, dog. I'm looking at it right now. In fact, his whole shtick didn't change at all. 10 health, 10 move, 3-up save. Still the same. Look at it's good.
Well, he did get nerfed. He no longer has a 7 bravery.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nobody has any bravery, Carlos. It's a buff for everybody.
Everyone got nerfed. No more bravery. Everyone's bravery 0.
I think that's better. I think that's good. So Bostica, I think his Bostica profile stayed the same. Yep, it's the same, except obviously now it's 3-inch range rather than 1-inch range. So, but everything, we're not talking about that every time. His Great Gnashtooth Jaws also stayed. Oh nope, slightly better. They went from 4 attacks to 5 attacks, but they went from 3s to hit to 4s to hit, and from 2 rend to 1 rend. So slight nerf there.
Yeah,
sure.
Not terrible, but slight nerf there. He's a little bit less fighty, and I think that's probably okay. His passive is while this unit is contesting an objective you do not control, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Kruleboyz infantry units wholly within 12. Instantly, way better. Great buff. Excellent buff. And it means that you can all-out attack him to give him the 3s to hit on his Great Gnashtooth, and everyone else still gets all-out attack. Beautiful passive. Love to see it. Great lead into the charge type mechanic.
Yeah, I love that.
And then his other ability is in your hero phase. You pick another friendly unit, another friendly Kruleboyz unit, wholly within 9 to be the target. Add 3 to the target's control score until the start of your next turn. This is phenomenal. Another great bit. And this is phenomenal specifically because of how it interacts with sneaking. So you can be sitting here with a unit of 10 grots, 10 grots, and your killer boss are just chilling, and then your opponent like walks off their objective because they've got to move up the board, and you're like, all right, get over there, grots, and the grots are now 13 models on the objective, because they teleported behind the opponent. Great synergy. It's obviously going to be something that you are going to have to think about very clearly when you're doing it. So it's something that you could mess up very easily, but if you play it right, great ability.
Yeah, I think he's solid. Definitely a more of your objective taking, like lead the charge type guy. So
yeah,
I like it.
He's much less because before what you saw with the killer bosses is that they would sit with your unit of gut rippers so that you didn't lose more than one gut ripper and you didn't have to spend the command point on inspiring presence. Mm-hmm. Now he's more like, hey, can I get in there and murder? And the answer is, yeah, fucking go for it. Get in there and murder.
Definitely.
And he's like, can I make everyone else murder better? Yes, you can.
Time for murdering, my dude.
Time for murdering. And speaking about murder, now we're going to talk about the Merc Knob. He also murders. And he's got a 6-up ward bubble.
So good.
What a time to be alive!
So fucking good.
He used to be a pretty boring model. He used to give 5-up spell shrug. Which was good. Don't get me wrong. 5-up spell shrug, very good. I'd still take a 6-up ward every time. But I'm fairly certain the rest of his stuff stayed the same. I believe his health was 6. I believe his move was 5. I believe his save was 4. He's control 5 though, which is interesting because he's a foot hero.
Yeah, that
control
is very
5
interesting.
On a foot hero.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's something we see for people that used to be totems.
That's fair. That's fair.
Or like Banner Blade or something.
Banner Blade, shit like that.
5.
Yeah, where it's like.
Well, I mean, the Banner Blade is totem, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Exactly.
It would become.
That's what we're saying. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if like people like that, like Knight Vexilor, people that like hold the big battle standard for their army. It's like, that's very thematic, right? You just plant your battle standard here. You count as 5.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fucking cool. I think it's great.
You guys think Catacross will count as 5?
I hope so.
It's gonna be criminal if he doesn't.
He's got 5 dudes on his thing. Of course he should.
It's going to be so fucking criminal if he doesn't count as 5.
So there is a slight change to his weapon profile. It's just similar enough that I didn't notice. It's 4 attacks instead of 3 now. It used to be 3, and now it's 4, but it's 4s and 3s rather than 3s and 3s. But honestly, he wasn't that slappy in combat in the first place. He still had the Venom Encrusted weapons. He still has it now.
I think
he's got a couple more.
A lot of this, like the number of weapon increases, like even just by 1, it's 1 more chance for mortals. Like that's really what you're looking for.
100%.
So you get this guy in with 4 dice. Like I'd rather be rolling 4 dice and hoping for mortals rather than 3 dice and hoping for mortals too, right? You have your probability wise, you're probably hitting 1/6 in a roll of 4.
Yep. And then, so we talked about his passive, but it's friendly Cruel Boys units have a ward of 6+ when they're wholly within 12 of this unit. So this unit always has a ward of 6+, obviously, because he's always wholly within 12 of himself. So they don't list it here, but he does have a 6-up ward. Great. Love it. Phenomenal. Could not say more. Love it. Mm-hmm. And obviously being able to teleport him with Sneakin' to get in range of some units that might be further afield and might need the defense or onto an objective so that you can help them hold it. The tricks are endless and they never stop.
Can we just talk about Breath of the Mire Drakes? Like, I thought that is what the D3 shit was trying to get rid of.
So it was, and then they didn't get rid of it here. So Breath of the Mire Drakes is the same. It did not change.
Like, dude, you introduce an entire new dice to the game to solve this non-existent problem. It doesn't do anything.
The one thing you can always count on, the one consistency you can always count on for GW is inconsistency.
So, Sigmar lied.
Yeah, Sigmar lied for sure.
Come on. He looks
now
good
we're
though. Definitely someone
yeah.
I'd take. You know.
Yeah, no, and I've been taking him the whole time anyway because I just love the model. It's a great model. And now I think with his passive now he's an auto included in most armies. Now we're getting to the sad part of it though. Gut rippers.
Roll a dice on a 3-up. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for targets or attacks made by non-hero units to target this. Okay.
They didn't change. I'm sad that they're still a 5-up.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think these guys are probably better in conjunction with the rest of the army getting like all that other stuff. You put a 6-up ward on these guys, like let's go.
That's true. You're not wrong. I just kind of wish they were a 4-up, especially since I've got all of mine with shields. It just feels weird to have them be a 4-up with a shield that covers the majority of their body.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that might just be. It's probably just me.
So you can build these guys without shields.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no.
No, some of their special units don't get shields.
That's true.
Like the leader or the standard bearer or the musician, but whether they have the stickers or the hackers, they have shields.
Dude, like this guy in the picture with the club and the sword is a legend. I'm like
That's
these
the
two
leader.
models look
That's the leader.
sick. Like I would love a whole unit of like dual wielding gut rippers. That'd be sweet.
Honestly, if they had a unit of dual ripping gut rippers and those ones were 5-ups, I'd be happy. Give me the 4-up with the shielded size of his body, please. Yeah. But we didn't get it. It's okay. The scare tactics remain pretty much the same.
Target monsters now.
It can target monsters that aren't heroes, which is a slim number of monsters. But it's not a bravery test anymore.
Yeah.
3-up is cleaner.
Yeah.
It goes off more often. I'm
definitely
happy
better.
with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Stickers and hackers stayed, I think, the same. I think they were 4s and 3s, or they were 3s and 4s.
Sounds about right.
But they're still doing crit mortals, so it's good. It's just not. I just wish they were a 4-up. But still 2 wounds,
10-man unit.
It's still good.
Yeah,
it's still good.
We like it.
I honestly, I would put the Cruel Boys at a high B.
Oh yeah, let's pull that baby out.
Yeah, I think they're a B for sure.
You think a high B?
No, I think a high B.
I actually think low B.
I was thinking low B too.
And just because I need to see Bolt Boys.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, Bolt Boys are going to make or break.
The pot shaman, like.
Yeah.
What does that do?
Everything we've seen is worthy of a high B, but Bolt Boys could fuck it all up and bring it to a low B. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution and say low B. Still fantastic. This has convinced me to keep the army, and so I'm definitely gonna fuck around with them.
Good. You just have to pick up Gobsprack now, or not. You just leave Gobsprack out.
Yeah.
Gobsprack's a Chad though.
Yeah, I want to see what. There's a lot of things I want to see what they do. So, you know what? I just remembered for a companion, the Mire Brute. That thing would probably fuck. So yeah.
Not to just like harp on this, but looking at the Beast Skewer Killbow from the Spearhead, the Beast Skewer Bolt is crit auto wound.
I know, which is why I am scared for Bolt Boys. So but it's
scary.
Spearhead. Yeah. It's Spearhead, so there is quite a few grains of salt to be had there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Let's leave it at it's definitely a B either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
it definitely belongs in B. It just depends on if they fuck with Bolt Boys, then they go to low B. Mm-hmm. If they take out the Bolt Boys, we go to low B.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
For sure.
Too many B's in the kitchen, and all of a sudden we're low B.
There you go.
Hit us with some OBR, baby.
OBR, my time. The OBR. Let's see this. To just cut to the chase here. This is the most disappointing thing of my life. Not because anything is bad, just because they showed me Vok Mortison. Like, come on, bro.
Vok Mortison instead of Catacross is kind of a troll.
Like, they're just
it's a wild
with
troll,
me, dude.
Yeah.
I think I might be the only person who's ever taken Vok Mortison to an event, ever. So, if anyone's going to be excited about Vok Mortison, it's going to be me, and I'm not excited about Vok Mortison.
Look at this fucking hipster. I'm excited about Vok Mortison. I can't wait for you to talk about his ability.
I'm excited for you guys to remember to call him Vok Morchin.
Nah, he's Vok Morchin, baby.
Whatever. Mike Morchin.
Read it.
Um,
Read it.
Oh yeah, there's no whatever.
Yeah, he definitely.
All right,
It's
battle trait me, baby. Battle trait me.
All right, so into the battle traits, we'll get right into it. This has totally changed. Basically, the way that the battle traits or OBR worked before was we got a massive pool of command points. Prior to that, we had something called Relentless Discipline points, which was also just a massive pool of command points that you could spend on different things. What you're seeing here with these battle traits is pretty much a lot of those things we could spend command points on from our Ossiarch commands from the last book. They have been rolled into just abilities that happen, but in a very different way. So this will fundamentally change how OBR plays across the board, I would say. You have less abilities to use, but they affect more things, and they take less activations to use them. So what I mean by that is, at the top, we'll look at the movement phase abilities you can use. Basically, you can select to use one of these Relentless Discipline abilities. For example, on the left, we have Unstoppable Advance. Declare if no friendly units have used a Relentless Discipline ability this phase. Pick a friendly OBR hero to use this ability. So all of these are being used by the hero that you are taking in your army, or one of them, and you can only use one of these per phase, which is very different from how these somewhat previously worked. For this one specifically, you're giving all friendly OBR units wholly within 12 of the hero who used this ability, +2 to their movement characteristic. So you can select that, or you can select in that same phase the other, which would be Reform Ranks, for the rest of the turn while they're wholly within 12 inches of the hero. Friendly OBR units can use the charge ability even if they used a retreat in the same turn. So that rolls in Retreat and Charge, which was Reform Ranks previously a command, and Unstoppable Advance, which actually is a nerf to what Unstoppable Advance was, which gave us 3 inches of movement rather than 2. So off the bat, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but it does mean that as long as you're pretty tight on the hero, you can affect more units than you used to be able to, unless you spent previously all your command points on.
So not to get in the weeds on this, but this, in my opinion, is a massive nerf to OBR. I would say on average, I would be spending Unstoppable Advance command points on 3 to 4 units per turn, which sounds like a lot, but I mean, when you have 11 command points to spend for movement, you're getting a lot of you're getting a lot of movement there. This is way more tight and way less flexible. So I'm not getting this on units that I might need it on later in the game when things get spread out. I'm not this is good when I'm castled up. The reason I don't really like this that much is because a lot of this is really incentivizing overextending your hero and also castle playstyle, which is fine, but it's definitely incentivizing that. So I think at least in the movement phase abilities here, this is Unstoppable Advance absolutely is a nerf, but Reform Ranks is kind of hot. You know, if you do have a hero up there like a Leech Cavalos or something, kind of gives you a reason to take a Leech Cavalos and get him stuck in and give a bunch of retreat and charges. So it could be really powerful there. But
you just have to watch out that you're going to be taking those mortal damage on those retreats.
Yeah,
because it doesn't prevent you from taking those.
Yes, absolutely. I think generally this makes the army harder to play. Or more difficult to play. It has a much higher skill ceiling in terms of placement of your models. So that's the movement phase stuff. Coordinated charge, same exact kind of concept on how you would use this. Same exact kind of aura ratio of 12 inches from the hero that uses it. Add 1 to charge rolls for the rest of the turn to your friendly OBR units. That's fine. Most of our units had a +1 to charge previously because of the banner, which is now not a thing anymore. So that in and of itself is a nerf just across the board here, which is also fine. OBR was strong, so there's a reason for them to be nerfed, but a little bit tough there. You could use this following up after reform ranks as well, if that's something that you want to do. Maybe just like reform ranks and peace off across the board. So you could get some value there. But the better one, in my opinion, is Counter-Strike, which, again, you're using it in the same fashion, and you're getting an anti-charge +1 rend. So you can theoretically back off and allow them to come in, and you're getting +1 rend. So Counter-Strike, previously what this did, it was a single command that you would use at the end of the charge phase, and it would give you +1 to wound, which has now reversed places with Bludgeon, which used to be +1 rend to everything, which now gives you a +1 to wound in the combat phase, to a bubble within 12, exactly the same way. And then impenetrable ranks as well. That's a 5-up ward. So across the board, like, all of this looks good on face value, but from my perspective, it's so much worse. You can't give 5-up ward to something if you give bludgeon to something else. So if you have a bubble of guys in combat and your wizard or someone is in combat on the other side of the table, you're not getting a 5-up ward over there. You can only use one of these abilities each combat phase. You're not able to get an anti-charge +1 rend in your own turn if somebody charges into you with the counter charge command. Because you're going to be using the +1 to charge, potentially using the +1 to charge roll. It creates a lot of inflexibility with the play style, which used to be a lot more fluid in terms of how you're spending your command points, which is a little bit saddening, but also probably, going to create a higher skill ceiling, which is fine.
I think what these battle traits really say to me is Arch Cavalo Santos and Liege Cavalo stocks went way up.
Yeah, bigger bases for the bigger 12-inch bubble. They have higher movement.
And they also want to be in combat.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you don't want your Bone Shaper in combat.
Absolutely.
In most cases.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know, it could be that maybe the Ospector and the Bone Shaper got a little bit of a glow up to where they might be a bit safer. It's possible that with conjunction with Immortus Guard that they might be more survivable. But I'm going to say that in most cases, you're going to see at least one Liege Cavalos in most lists.
Yeah, you need to be able to have that mobility to get these commands out every turn. Because if you're not using one of these in every phase, because they're free, right? So we talked about that previously. Like, just things that are free are just good. So if you're not using one of these in every single phase, you're not getting the value, and the Liege Cavalos will allow you to basically get that value.
There is one thing I want to say, though, that I just thought of and might actually make a big difference. What if we see Catacross getting a increase to the range of these?
Yeah, so that was my hope. I was hoping potentially like Catacross or something. If you take them, maybe goes up to 18 inches, right? That would be huge.
Yeah.
That being said,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 18 or 24 inches.
Yeah. That being said, though, it's still a nerf because it's not as flexible. You can only use one of these. So it is a nerf, even if they do give that. Basically, because of the combat phase ones where you can not... typically, if I wanted to unstoppable advance something, right? If I had a unit of cavalry that I wanted to go take an objective, I could unstoppable advance them, get them across the table, and also potentially retreat and charge from somewhere else on the table. Way more flexible. Can't do that now.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But
I'm just thinking about if they did give Catacross the increased range and say it was 24 inches. I'm just thinking if Catacross going Counter-Strike and then Bludgeon on most
everything
of your army. I get what you're saying. It is 100% less flexible.
Yeah.
Not debating that. But I'm saying that if they do give Catacross that increased range, obviously this is all theoretical.
Yeah.
I could see that being very gross.
The reason this upsets me, I will say, as far as from a purely thematic point of view, the idea behind the OC Bone Reapers and their lore was that they didn't need anybody to tell them what to do. They were a trained regiment that knew what, like, unlike every other Death Legion, they were like, when the Mortek Guard are out there, they know, like,
every individual Mortek Guard knows how to fight. You know, they have their leader, the Hekatos they look up to, but each individual lad is good on his own, right? That's what their lore is. So that's a little frustrating as well. I will say bludgeon changing to be a +1 to wound, I think, is the one saving grace here. That's huge. Getting the value out of being charged, a lot of how OBR's playstyle previously was I'm literally not charging. I will always let them charge me so I can get a +1 to wound, because it puts out so much value to all of my weapon profiles across the board. So being able to get that in the combat phase on a lot of things, in my opinion, has a lot more value to OBR than getting +1 rend. I'm not really that upset about losing the old bludgeon that gave the additional rend. We have rend. It's fine, and rend is going down across the board. I like having more wound, especially with exploding hits. It pairs better with exploding hits, I think, from a numbers standpoint. So I'm happy with that. But across the board, battle traits, anyone who's telling you this isn't a nerf is absolutely wrong.
It absolutely is a nerf, but I think it's a nerf that is in line with all the other nerfs we've seen, because just being able to say, hey, me and 3 other, or me and all other units in between 12 inches is really powerful. It's turning the OBR into this very regimental, legionnaire castle army, which is kind of what they've always lured them up to be.
It's in line with their lore while also not being in line with their lore. You know what I mean? It's a little bit it has a weird dichotomy there, but whatever.
Well, I mean, it does make a lot more sense when you consider that you're going to be probably taking more heroes, because every regiment that you run now is going to have a hero that goes with it, right? That wasn't always true of old battalions. You could run a battalion without most of them required a hero, but it was a hero and 1 other guy for something, or a hero and 2 other guys to get an extra command ability. Now it's, to get a single drop, you're dropping a whole battalion, a whole regiment of dudes. So I think, given how they're moving towards that regimented style, with heroes being almost exclusively any unit you're bringing is coming with a hero.
Yeah.
And is dropping with a hero.
Yeah.
It makes sense, thematically, to go with that, but I understand and I agree with you guys that it does seem to be taking away some of OBR's flexibility that should make sense, but losing flexibility and going to a more regimented style also makes sense. It's
exactly.
Weird. It's weird.
It's both.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense that the leaders are able to do this, but at the same time, it also felt to me a lot of times like it made sense for my Immortus Guard to get charged and then be able to get a +1 to wound, and they're giving it to themselves, right? Because they know how to deal with a charge,
Yeah. 100%.
So
I also wouldn't be surprised if one of your command traits ends up being hey, extend the range of Relentless Discipline to 18 inches.
Yeah.
And then Catacross is, again, his is 24 inches.
Yeah, if Catacross uses the thing, it's. So whatever, it's good. It's fine. Necrotic Symphony. This is the Mortison Council battle formation. Add 1 to casting rolls for friendly OBR infantry wizards. It's fine. I'm not against that. It's good.
It's fine.
It's whatever. It's not fun, but it's fine.
Clearly trying to make sure Arkin doesn't become an auto include in this.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
I like it though. I think it's fine. There's no issues with this at all to me. If you're depending on what the spell lore looks like,
Most of your wizards were infantry wizards, and the one that wasn't is the
chair guy.
The chair guy, yeah. But the one that wasn't an infantry hero is now an infantry hero, because we cover him later. So it's fine. Everything's fine. All the heroes The only person who's not getting it is Arcan, because we're not running around with Arcane Tome anymore, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm here for it. It's totally good to me. Arcana Incantations, this is the juice for me. This is what I like. This also pairs with why I like Bludgeon being +1 to wound. 5 up, that's the same. Empower Nandrite weapons.
Yeah.
But it is
unlimited, baby.
It is unlimited.
Sick.
Yep. Super sick.
That's great.
Super sick. Nothing more to be said there. Vok Mortison, here's our big guy. He's got the Gaze of Death. He's a 5 up or a 4 up, control 2, moves 5, 5 health. He lost health. I believe he was 6 health previously, so he's definitely weaker there. But yeah,
not a Mortison either, which is weird.
I
don't know if he's a Mortison now, but he was no, he's not actually. He's not a Mortison now.
Did he lose health?
He did lose health.
He did lose.
He was 6 health.
So yeah, Gaze of Death, 12-inch range. I believe that is slightly better. I think it was 3s and 3s and D3 damage or something.
It's actually the same.
Is it the same? To be honest, I don't think I ever Gaze of Death anything. I think I forgot that he had that on his War Scroll forever, as OBR players do.
I think you shot me once with it when I charged him with the Glockin.
When I remembered I had it for one turn.
Yeah, you're like, I'm in combat with Vok Mortison. That means I can shoot him, right? I'm like, yeah. He's got a shooting attack, and you're like, yeah. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he does now.
Sure. Yeah, same thing. He got 1 extra staff attack.
Yeah. So,
but he went to 4s and 3s rather than 3s and 3s.
Yeah, which is fine. He's blown up still on 6s, 2 damage. Good.
Yeah.
You're not taking
essentially it looks like all your guys basically just got Nandrite weapons like into their profile.
Yeah, it's just baked into the ability section now. He is very different on his scroll, however. So the one big point out is Mortal Contract. 7 cast, 18 inches from him. It's a War Scroll spell for Vok Mortison now. Until the start of your next turn, each time the bound friendly unit is picked to be the target of an ability used by the bound enemy unit, roll a d3. On a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the bound enemy unit equal to the roll as a reaction. If the bound enemy unit is destroyed by this ability, do not resolve the effect of the enemy ability. That's a mouthful. Basically what this means is you're selecting a unit, and anytime an ability happens, you on a 2-up are doing D3 mortal wounds. Mortal Contract was very similar to this, the actual spell from our spell lore, which was you select a unit, and anytime that it made a shoot, a combat attack, or I actually think those are the only 2 things, you would roll on a 2-up, you would do D3 mortal wounds. So super similar, just with a little bit more wordy. Not really the best spell, not something that you normally would cast from the spell lore, but now that it's his spell on his War Scroll, and he's a 2-cast wizard, you might be casting that potentially if you're not spamming Nandrite weapons with him.
I think this is going to be pretty situational. But what you could see is someone who tried to, like, you putting it on an enemy spellcaster, who then tries to use a spell on, because I think it would work on spells, because I'm fairly certain spells are considered an ability. Use a spell on your bound unit, and then it dies. The spell just doesn't go off.
Yeah,
which is
the big.
I think it also works on
The big thing about this is that it's also involving a bound friendly unit, which is not how it was previously. So these things have to go into a specific unit.
Yeah.
And also, the old version of this lasted for the entire game. So if you casted one in the first turn, every time for the entire game that thing attacked, it would take D3 mortal wounds potentially. So I think the value is down on this for sure. But it wasn't, even though that sounds kind of decent from like how the old version, it wasn't something that you really casted that often anyway, because you kind of were managing casts. You didn't really have the casts for it, so
Yeah.
you're most likely not going to be casting this how it is currently, unless we have a lot more casts somehow. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say Voice in Nagash though.
Yeah, Voice in Nagash, on the other hand, pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. For the rest of the turn, non-fight core abilities cost a command point to use. Gross.
Delicioso.
Gross.
The only thing about this that's bad is that it's once per battle.
Yeah, but
So what?
still-
what?
It's also like I said, it's the only thing that's bad about it. Every other thing about it is excellent
this is tight.
because you're not moving, you're not charging, you're not shooting, you're not casting spells.
That key turn, you just turn something off for command, like you drain their command points. Awesome.
This is definitely
to do it.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be what Bellacore gets, but like his is going to be once per game anywhere on the battlefield for sure.
Yeah. Any hero phase as well. Sick. We love it. You get too close to me, you're getting drained of command points potentially. So
yeah,
I love it. I mean, he was already a very cheap wizard to include if he stays at the cheap point cost and he has this ability. I think this is better than what he lost, which was a in combat range 1 inch Hand of Dust. Essentially, you just roll a dice and you cast it on a 7, and then you would roll the 4 up to Hand of Dust to the model, which is also very good, but that was extremely hard to get off, and he died so fast if he got in combat. So a little bit better, I would say, in terms of just usability across the board with him.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's him. Soul Mason, who is hot. Love
Infantry.
this. Love
He
him.
walks on his own 2 feet, and by that I mean his own 2 mechanical feet, in
We
addition
love
to
it.
his own 2 feet.
Yeah. So
I've always wondered why he has legs if he always is in this chair. You know what I mean? It seems like
he's
like
chilling,
a
bro.
waste.
He's just chilling.
I'm just saying, if you're thinking about this from Nagash's perspective, and you're going there and you're like, let me build this Mortison Soul Mason, let me give him legs so that he can sit in this chair that has legs.
I would imagine that it takes so much power and like mental anguish for the Soul Mason to do his job as a Mason of Souls and like ripping souls out of things and placing them into constructs that he can't spend the energy to walk. He has to have something to move him around.
No, that's just it. I don't have an issue with him being in the chair with legs. My issue is, why does he have legs if he's gonna always be in the chair with legs?
I don't know.
Well, no, that's what he rides into battle. You know.
Yeah.
So you know how I know you haven't read the books, any of the OBR books? You want to know what's really fucking weird, or not weird? The OBR have normal lives. They live like normal lives in the necropolis.
So
It's so crazy.
What you're telling me is that this guy is like, hey, this is my going to pick up Starbucks bride.
Yes.
You should.
Okay, I understand.
You should.
He's walking around the
read,
shop with his regular legs, but he's like, hey, I gotta go get something from the shop.
You should read
store?
the End of Enlightenment. It's basically it's a Lumineth book about a stone mage, but it's actually about the OBR Liege Cavalos, who is having like some deep depression and personal bipolar issues, and it's quite intense. And there's a Soul Mason in that I won't get into.
Nice.
Yeah, I won't get into the details, but.
All right. Well, let's
it's
actually
a
talk
read.
about what he does rather than his legs, because I think I've derailed us.
So he's got attacks. He's got a health pool. I mean, it's whatever. 2-cast wizard, as he currently is, which is awesome. Infantry now, which is awesome. He has a spell, Soul Guide, which he used to have as well. 7-cast. It is not unlimited here, which is different from the current one. You can cast it twice in the same turn, the current Soul Guide. But
unless you roll a 1.
Yeah, unless you roll a 1. But you previously were able to get potentially 5 casts out of this guy in one turn, in 4 Soul Guides, which was kind of sweet. But that ability is now no longer a thing, and now he gives you a strike first for the rest of the turn to whatever unit this gets casted on, which is really sick. Previously, he was giving +1 to wound, which was also, as I have been ramping up, +1 to wounds for OBR being awesome. Very good previously, but nobody took him because he couldn't. He was not an infantry unit, so he could not get lookout sir, and he'd just get shot off the table. But now he is, and now he gives strike first to something, which is just great. I mean, it's just a good spell. Like,
yep.
Period.
There's a lot of shenanigans you could do with this now. Like, you could cast this in the enemy hero phase for a command point, and then have something waiting to like countercharge, like some, Kavalos or some Necropolis Stalkers, or what are the big flying dudes called?
Morghast.
Morghast. Yeah, Morghast. You can have Morghast ready to just jump over your lines and just countercharge with strike first. It's pretty cool.
That's what I like about this the most. Is like previously, OBR was really the only army that had the countercharge like baked into its book, which now apparently we don't have anymore. But one of the big things you would do is you would take a unit of Morghasts and try to countercharge with them, like try to position them to countercharge throughout the game and go for the 8+ to get the strike first in the opponent's turn, which was huge value. Now with the Soul Mason, you can pretty much do that with anything in the entire army, right? It's going to cost you 2 command points, and you got to get the spell off. But if you do that, it's
only 1.
Well, the countercharge is 1 point, and then yeah,
I see.
So you could theoretically do that and cost 2 command points, but you're also not spending as many command points on other things because you don't have your command points you're spending stuff on anymore. So it's kind of give or take. We'll see how it plays out on the table, but I think this is overall a really nice piece to add to like the strategy aspect of OBR. Stalkers is the next one here. They have the 4 head ability as they previously did. They're 4 health, 4 up save. That's a nerf. They were 5 health previously, so they lost health. They're a little bit squishier here. They're a 4 up save. That is what they were previously. Still 3 models. They have a 6 up ward, obviously, and they're infantry. 4 attacks each. Their attack profile got slightly different. They used to have a larger sword that did less attacks, and then they had 2 guys with the Stalker Blades that did the 4 attacks. Now they are just 3s and 3s across the board, 2 rend, 1 damage with the crits, 4 attacks. So you're doing 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 attacks with them. Attack profile is fine. This, in my opinion, is really nothing to write home about. What you're looking at is the 4 head ability, which you pick 1 in the combat phase. You can either subtract 3 from control scores, which is good. Subtract 1 from hit rolls that target this unit, which is also good. Ward rolls cannot be made, which is also good. And then the unit's melee weapons have anti-hero +1 rend, which is also good.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't think these are going to be taken ever if they stay at the same points cost of 220 points. So I'm expecting these guys to go way down in points. They're good on paper here if they're pointed correctly. If they stay too heavy pointed, I just don't think they have a lot of output, to be honest.
They've got some interesting not screening but like charge absorbing ability here with the battle traits and these quadric aspects. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of buff that can happen to them to make them a really good unit to soak a charge with, because you can give them +1 rend to anti-charge. You can give them +1 to wound from bludgeon. You can give them, instead of that, if you wanted to go the other way, you can give them a 5 up ward and then give them -1 to hit.
Yeah.
The issue is the 1 damage. You used to be able to buff their damage characteristic.
Sure.
Know?
Yep.
So
Yep.
they would have the same. Yep. They would have more attack. Maybe the same amount of attacks. I think 4, 4,
same.
and
It was the same.
In
The only
two?
thing that was different was the Dread Falchion was 3 attacks, but did 2 damage base.
Yeah, but you
Three damage
used to be able to bounce that up to 3 damage and 2 damage, which is way better.
How are you giving them more damage?
It's
From
it's
the
like
blade
it's called like
aspect.
striking
Yeah,
Oh,
the striking aspect would give them more.
the precision aspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
precision. That's what.
So-
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah.
So their damage output has
Significantly gone
really
down.
dropped. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to be able to find a really specific use for them, or they're gonna have to be cheaper. I mean, they're
Oh, no,
they're
I
significantly
don't think-
worse.
I don't think they're staying the same value. I don't think the points value is staying the same. I think they're going down in points. But I also think that they're moving from like almost exclusively you would use that particular aspect to
Yes.
now their aspects give them a lot more flexibility. So like again, you can have them be -1 to hit and a 5-up ward while they're soaking enemy attacks. And you can also give them Soul Guide to have them strike first. Like there's a lot of bits of the rest of the army that go into Stalkers that make them a lot more flexible than they used to be.
I
They
don't
also
know.
used to be able. They also used to be able to run in charge too.
Yeah.
They were the only
Which-
unit you had that ran in charge. pretty
Yeah.
much.
So I don't know.
And
I
and
think,
also go over terrain that was impassable if they were running and charging. Like they've had a massive glow down. I mean,
Yeah,
this
it's a shame.
unit to me is like a 140, 150 point unit.
yeah,
You know, like if they come in at that, I situationally may take one, but I can't think of really a good situation to take them over just a block of Mortek Guard. They'll get more value out of all of the buffs we're discussing anyway because they have more attacks and more bodies. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
they might have more attacks. I don't think they're going to go down to 1 attack, but they theoretically could. We haven't seen
Even if they go down to 1 attack and you have a 10-man unit, they're doing the same amount. Like basically, this has
2 more attacks.
2 more attacks on 3s and 3s with 2 rend. Like slightly better. But Mortek Guard currently are 140 points.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Again, yeah. I don't think they're staying the same points, but I think that while we're talking about them having a glow down, I think what they did have was instead of being specifically a hammer unit, they are now a flex unit.
Yes.
They're a unit that can do a significant amount more, in my opinion, than what they used to be able to do.
The other
What they used to be able to do is chop up people.
Yeah.
That was it.
The other thing
Yeah,
about
for sure.
them that I think is pulling me away from them though is just the 6-inch move, right? Like it's a low, they don't move far, and they also don't have any of their movement buffs they used to have either. So they're not moving, they're not going far, and in order to get them where you need them, you need to spend the your movement phase buff to give them a +2. They're going 8 inches, you know, like they previously went farther as well. So I'm gonna need to see more in order to place them in a in a list that I'm not investing in something else. You know, I would take 1 Vok Mortison over a unit of these guys.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like he gives me more value.
I don't know if I'd do that. I mean,
If these guys were 140 points and Vok Mortison was 140 points, I'm taking Vok Mortison any day.
I don't agree with that at all. I completely disagree. I would rather have these guys than Vok Mortison or Vok Morchin at 140.
For a 2-cast wizard,
Nah, you're clowning.
dude.
Nope.
Vok Mortison almost can do more damage than them.
No, we can't.
He's got 3 attacks that do 2 damage each. That's
That's-
9 damage, dude, or 6 damage if he hits. That's
Uh,
like half his damage. That's literally half of the damage that Stalkers can do. They have 12 attacks and 1 damage each. Vok Mortison can literally do the same, like half of the damage, and also provide 2 cat. Like this is not good. I don't know. I don't even like Stalkers, and I don't think this is good.
I do like Stalkers. They're actually my favorite unit.
I don't even play them.
Yeah.
I do have 12 though, but I don't play them. Anyway, so that's them. I mean, I don't know. I'm just they're sad to me. Stalkers are sad to me.
Suckers are sad.
Crawler, however, is not sad. Crawler looks nice.
Crawler is not sad.
24-inch range, 12 health, 5 control, 4 up save, moves 5. I think that actually is more than it moved. I think it moved 4 previously.
It might have even been 6. I'm gonna be real. I think the crawler was dumb.
But
regardless,
no,
that
it was 4.
yeah.
4. It got better.
Dread Catapult, 24-inch range, 4 attacks, 4s and 2s. Obviously, this can be buffed up. 1 rend, D3 plus 2 damage, so decent damage profile there.
Yeah,
Anti-infantry plus 1 rend, so it could be 2 rend, and it's exploding on 6s.
Yep. And has Natarite Dread Catapult.
Yep.
But you can't Natarite weapons it.
Yeah, because it's a range.
It's not infantry. Yeah, it's not infantry.
But
no, because I think Natarite weapons specifically says combat attacks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't. Yeah, Natarite weapons doesn't care about infantry. It says specifically combat attacks.
Yeah.
So you can use them.
Well, combat attacks, not melee attacks. Shooting is combat attacks.
No,
I don't think
it's
is.
not in the combat phase.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how
It's
it
in the
works.
shooting phase.
All right.
So good profile here. Good into I think this is phenomenal. Anti-infantry plus 1 rend. Like you're crushing some infantry here. However, the Deathly Barrage is the thing to write home about. Roll a dice, add 1 to the roll if this unit is wholly within 12 inches of any ossifactors, which is the new hero for us. Add 1 to the roll if any other Mortec Crawler units are picked. That enemy unit to be the target. So if you have 2 crawlers and 1 ossifactor, you're getting a +2. On a 4-up, the target has a strike last for the rest of the turn. So that's in your turn, or if you use the command, potentially in your opponent's turn when they're charging, you give them strike last. This is super good. I think
it's great.
Yeah, I don't think you're taking crawlers with a soul mason because you're kind of doubling up on the strike last, strike first. But if you're not taking a soul mason, I think you want to take a crawler and an ossifactor, and
I think you take 2 crawlers.
Yeah, or 2 crawlers. Well, it depends on what the ossifactor does outside of buffing this, but yeah.
The other thing to mention is that one of the battle formations is specifically about Mortec crawlers.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah. Which is nice because I do have this freshly built Mortec crawler right here.
So what I'm thinking is that battle formation, because it talks about Mortec crawlers in a fortified position to obliterate key targets, I think what that's going to be is if your Mortec crawler doesn't move, it has crits on 5s.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Hey, listen, I just want to point out that I've been standing the crawlers since we started hearing about 4th edition and ranges being reduced and artillery being the thing. This is it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Yeah, I'm really hyped on this. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, because especially since it's on a 2-up, strike last if you target it with 2 Mortec crawlers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now and
you have an ossifactor.
Does that mean you get 2 bites of the apple though?
Yeah. So I think basically how this is worded from my perspective is that you roll the first, like you attack with 1 crawler into the infantry unit. Yeah. And then you roll a 3-up if you have an ossifactor. Right. And if you fail it, you can be like, I really need that to be strike last. I'm going to shoot my next crawler into that same unit and get the strike last. But to be honest, like that's why I'm not really too big on the 2 crawler concept, because it's like, I think if you shoot 2 crawlers into an infantry unit, they're probably dead.
Whoa! Let's make one thing clear here. Deadly Barrage doesn't say you have to pick an infantry. Okay, it just says, hey, pick an enemy unit that was targeted by this.
That's
so if you want to give like Kragnos a fucking slash out of 3-up, baby.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm gonna be honest. If you target Kragnos with 2 of these, there's a good chance that Kragnos is fucked up too.
Like, yeah, that's true. That's true too.
He's a 4-up save now.
Yeah.
He's a 5-up ward, but a 4-up save means that If you get lucky, you could be doing upwards of 20 damage to him with a single crawler. Is that right? Yeah. If you roll hot,
if you roll
and get a couple of
hot.
if you get a couple explodes and roll decently on the damage, you're looking at potentially 20 damage to Kragnos.
Yeah.
On a 5-up save, a 5-up ward. Granted, he'll probably live through it, but
yeah.
Does it dissuade him from charging? Yeah, probably.
I'm also quite happy that I can like shoot the thing I'm in combat with this as well if I get in combat.
No, you can't.
You can't?
You don't have shooting combat.
Doesn't have shooting combat.
Wait, so oh yeah, I guess you're right.
But what you can do is you can shoot a unit 4 inches away.
So
because he couldn't do that before because stupid fucking artillery rules. It was 6. It was 6 minimum up to 18, 24, or 36, depending on your weapon profile that you loaded it with. And by that I mean that you said that you loaded it with at the start of the turn.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So now 5 inches away, you're still getting shot. I love it. Big.
Yeah.
Big.
But, so where do you put them, Jake? What do you got?
That's it. So
I got low A. I got low A for mine.
Low A.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. If you're putting the Seraphon at high B, I would say that you should put these guys at high B.
I was gonna say high B. I think they're under Seraphon, but
it's interesting that we're flip flopped on our ideas.
Now, if you agree with me and Seraphon are low A, I think they are low A. I think that they are about almost equivalent with Seraphon from what we've seen so far.
Fine, put them both at low A.
I disagree, and this is why. I think Seraphon is significantly more flexible across the board. All of their battle traits are more flexible. You can obviously it applies to everything in the army that it applies to. I think that the range of Seraphon models as well plays nicer with what is in the battle trait and what you would be taking regardless. Where I think OBR is a little bit more clunky to manage their battle traits.
OBR is suffering from the fact that it doesn't have enough units.
Yeah.
Like it compared to Seraphon that had a unit reduction in their last book, like units left the line.
That's a good point. The thing with OBR for me is like Stalkers seeing that massive nerf takes out a big piece in OBR, you know?
What does Catacross increasing the range elevate this to high A, or sorry, to A for you, if that's the case?
If Catacross is giving out 24-inch Relentless Discipline.
24-inch Relentless Discipline.
Honestly, that's part of the reason why I think that both them and Seraphon are low A at the very least. Because I think that's what Catacross is going to do.
If Catacross gives it to 24 and he stays the same with everything else he does, then yeah. If Catacross sees a big change in terms of like what he does, then I mean I could see even low B, to be honest.
All right.
Interesting. Okay.
Like if Catacross is not giving everything +1 to hit, +1 to save, OBR.
No, there's no way. There's
OBR's
no way.
Down.
There's no way. No. Not without being like 600 points.
Wait, you think he's not gonna give that anymore?
No, because we're cutting down on save stacking.
Then I think OBR's low B. Then if they're not getting that.
Agree with that. Yeah, no, I don't think so. The thing is I think that almost everyone has lost most of their +1s to saves that they're stacking like that. Like Lumineth don't have it anymore. Most armies don't have access to Mystic Shield. The only army that we've seen that has a free save stack like that, in addition to all-out attack, is their Finest Hour from Stormcast.
Think of this though. Yeah. Everything we saw from OBR was more like utility, like specific target pieces.
It's just here's a question.
We don't have the recursion that other armies have.
Sure. My question is, what do you guys think if Mortek and Cavalos went down to a 3+ save?
Then I'm fine. Then they're low A.
I don't.
Interesting.
I think they're going to, just because you don't have save stacking anymore. Give them the better save. You know what I mean? Unless
Yeah,
no,
but Cavalos are
I think it would
4
be,
up in the
I think it would
spearhead.
be
So
Immortus and Mortec, right? Is that
yeah,
what you said? Immortus and Mortec?
Immortus and Mortec.
no, I said Cavalos and Mortec.
Cavalos won't, but Immortus will maybe.
I don't think Cavalos go down to a 3-up save.
Immortus are already a 3-up.
Immortus are a 3-up. I think if Mortec are a 3-up, then yes, OBR would be A minus. If that's not the case and they're a 4-up, and Catacross does not give the +1 to save to everything, I genuinely think they'll be they could potentially be a high C.
Get out of here!
I think people
you're underestimating the castle. I know you don't like it, but the castle's still strong. Okay, and none of your shit costs command points. You're doing all these abilities for free, with the only limit being how many things you could stuff within 12 inches. Mortec are on 25 millimeter bases, so you could probably have 20 Mortec, there. And like Cavalos aren't that big either. 12 inches is probably bigger than you're giving it credit for. I think it's frustrating that they're a castle army. I don't think that warrants a C.
I think that's dependent on what happens with Catacross, what happens with Arcan, what happens with Mortec Guard.
Yeah.
If everything gets the Stalker treatment, that's not going to look good for us.
I don't think everything's getting Stalker
I think
treatment.
at the moment it's a B+ from what I've seen.
Okay.
What I'm thinking is the Stalker hammer existence that exists for Stalkers is going to go to your Cavalos. Because Cavalos right now,
it's going to go to the Archai and the Morghasts. They want that to be your hammer. They want
That's true.
I don't know what they want the Stalkers to be honest. And then the shield guys, the Immortus, are going to be tanky on a 3-up.
Yeah.
I agree. I think if Mortec get a 3-up, then that's a different story.
Sure.
Currently Mortec are not playable. Like. They're just not, and they're on a 4-up, and they have Catacross, Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I've seen any other lists currently that are running Mortec, other than, like, the list I took to Adepticon. You
didn't have any Mortec in the list that I fought at.
I didn't take this. No, I didn't take that list.
Yeah.
My Adepticon list had 30 Mortec and a Leech Cavalos and Bach Mortison and Mirkanen. But, I
guess it also depends on what they do with the Harvester, too. Because the Harvester and Mortec seems like that was always thematically what.
Yeah.
Like you had a block of Mortec sit with the Harvester who's throwing people into the vat and shitting out more Mortec.
Yeah.
So we'll see how all that pans out. I think right now calling them a high B is fair.
Sure.
Based on what we've seen, I think they probably are going to end up being a low A.
Yeah, they very, very easily could be a low A. They also very easily could be a low B.
Yeah,
I think it really depends on what the important models in the army. Like that's why that's what I started with. It's like they showed us nothing that's important in the army.
Crazy to no Catacross.
No Catacross, no Mortec Guard, no Cavalos, no Archai, none of our foot wizards. Like literally all the things that are important in the army they did not show me.
They gave you 2 foot wizards.
Yeah, okay.
But not the good ones.
Okay.
Well, here's what I will say, boys. It is almost 9:30, and I think we had 3 really great deep dives.
I agree. We were kind of cooking on these, so
yeah, I think we were too. So probably
I think it's time to call it.
Yeah, probably a good time to call it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sad.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I mean, even as reveals it. I mean, we have till what July 12th, July 15th. We'll be fine. We'll get through 15th. Shit. We'll get through these.
I'm just sad that we talked about Cruel Boys rather than Nurgle.
Mathematically, even if we do 3 at a time, we'll get through them. So
yeah, but that still doesn't change the fact that I want to talk about Nurgle tonight, Carlos.
We will talk about Nurgle next Monday for sure.
Can I just bring up the thing that I noticed just now in Nurgle that might change my argument?
Fine.
Because I talked about it earlier. All right. The question that we've been going over in group chats, in person, when we've had these discussions, is how the disease characteristic works. So we've really the question is how do you get rid of disease? And the question is, when you go to heal disease, say I'm using Rally and I roll 7 dice and I roll 3 4-ups. are all 3 of those 4-ups absorbed when I heal the disease, or is one of those 4-ups absorbed when I heal the disease? My opinion, and I think it's supported by the rules, is that all of them, any healing ability that you do, the entire healing ability is consumed by curing that disease, which means that disease shuts down healing pretty much exclusively. Any unit that goes, oh, let me return 3 models, it's like, well, no, instead you're healing disease. And the reason that I feel this way is based on both the wording of it and the thing that I just read, which is the wording of its flavor text. So the passive is called Desperate Remedies. When fighters are afflicted with the plagues of Nurgle, all efforts to recuperate must be focused entirely on stemming the spread of disease. That is the flavor text. And they use the word all efforts and entirely focused in the same sentence to describe how healing effects work on healing on disease.
Probably get fact that it is all spent there.
Well, not only that, but I'm fairly certain that the effect ruling also covers it, because it says if a diseased enemy uses an ability that would heal or return slain models to it, instead of healing or returning slain models to it, that unit no longer has the diseased keyword. I feel like that wording is clear enough. I think what we need is a designer commentary to make sure that they know that that's the intention. I don't think it requires a fact.
And now I'm cutting you off, Rich, with my little snippers.
That was it. I just wanted to say that thing because I just read it now and I was like, holy shit, it's right there.
All right. Food for thought. Food for thought.
Oh my god. All right, I'm gonna go sit in front of my air conditioner and
yeah, samesies.
And cool.
I'm gonna turn my fan slightly so that I'm actually getting blasted. I just turned it away so that it's not hitting the mic.
Oh no, I let mine hit the mic. Fuck it.
All right. Yeah, I know.
It's time. It's time for me to go watch the Cubs game. It looks like some Mike Bush just hit a home run and put the Cubs back in the lead. So I'm happy right now. All right, guys. It was a good app.
Yeah.
I think maybe one of the best. I'll see you guys next week.